uh,
Snake.
whatever you want to use. That's what made $2 million. That's hard to turn down, right? Whatever, however many years it is, you can't do that. You go from 1.2 to $2 million, and as Patrick said, it is the Auburn offensive coordinator job. But to only take $100,000 increase, and as a guy who covers recruiting and understands what happens on the recruiting trail, I think this is kind of an easy now target for not just South Carolina, but other coaches to go in and say, man, you want to go play quarterback for that guy? That's going to be your coach, a guy that preaches loyalty. And then again, $100,000 in that industry when you did everything you did, I think is that caught me off guard when I saw that number yesterday. I thought it would be 1.8, 1.9, $2 million.
It is surprising. I agree with you that it wasn't a relatively large raise. Patrick, you seem to just be coming in all kinds of bitter this morning.
How am I the bitter one?
No integrity.
I just don't see how it's a big deal. I mean, yeah, he has no loyalty or respect, and I don't know why we expected him to, and I don't know why we're surprised. He's a college football coach. He took a better job with an extra year of security.
With Shane Beamer, do you feel better about how he handled it now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a power move. I appreciate it. Yeah, he's not going to be. What?
Where was the power move that the Gamecocks?
If he made the decision for him, is that what you're saying? He made the decision for him. Bebo said, "Yeah, well, there's this offer coming in," and Shane said, "Forget it. We're not going to be. We're not going to be."
That's the way I know. I now come across to see this as Shane Beamer was the one who said, "Don't worry about it. Go take the job." There's been rumors about that.
I like that.
There's been a lot of rumors, and I think for a first-time head coach, for a guy who does have questions as we get ready for the start of his first spring, a guy who will meet with the media yesterday. What was God? If we can go back and pull the clip where he kind of stumbles and stutters through wishing Mike Bobo luck at Auburn. I think that, is it going to translate to wins on the football field? No. But does it give you more of a sense that Shane Beamer is not going to be a pushover? Is his first time as a head football coach, that he's not going to let other assistants dictate to him terms and how a program will be run? I think
that's the bigger thing with it. Shane Beamer doesn't want South Carolina to be a second choice. Yeah.
I'm still a little confused how you came to that conclusion. What was the other move at that point to say, "Oh, we see you have another offer. We're going to tear up the new contract we just made and give you more money"? Because that wasn't going to be an option. Like you can't sell that to the Carolina fan base. I just don't see the
doesn't have to sell it doesn't have to sell it to the Carolina. Yeah, no, that is the other option. That you've got a school like Auburn coming after your offensive coordinator, and let's remove integrity and character out of it for a second. You do have somebody else coming. That is part of college football. You do have somebody else coming after your assistant coach. And if you believed in Mike Bobo, if you believed in him, and you think that he's the guy to run your offense, yeah, you maybe say, all right, we're willing to go to 1.5, or we're willing to offer you a 3 deal. Yeah, you redo the contract. That's life. I mean, it's the same thing as Des Kitchings signing a deal with the Falcons. This ended up being a significantly better deal, but he signs his contract, gets a $200,000 raise, and then the Falcons come calling, and you look at that and you just say, well, hey, that's the Falcons. It's a better job, but you could try to match other situations, and I think you throw in the fact that Will Friend is a part of this. That Mike Bobo was allowed to hire his offensive coordinator, or his offensive line coach, to bring in his buddy from Tennessee, and that you gave his buddy a raise, and that his buddy follows him out the door. That you lost 2 coaches in this. Patrick's right. Part of it is how you view Shane Beamer this morning, and I think Shane Beamer has to come out of this with the Gamecock fan base going, hey, you're right. And I think Patrick said it real well. Shane Beamer is not here to allow South Carolina to be used in a bidding war or a contract extension or anything like that, and takes this as a, hey, you either want to be here or you don't. And if it's $100,000 that gets you to instantly go back on your commitment and the things you just said publicly and the things that you preached to this football team at the end of last season, if that's what it takes, go get out of here. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Well, I think that's how. I don't know. Maybe that I didn't read it exactly that way to begin with, but I read it as Shane Beamer kind of inheriting Mike Bobo in that situation, and you take what you got, and that was one of the situations where he was compromising to some degree. He understood the situation he was coming into. Mike Bobo was already on the hook for 7 figures for next season. He's a solid offensive coordinator, like we talked about. I think the analogy you made about him as an offensive coordinator and Frank Martin continuing to lead the Gamecock basketball program as far as what you know and what has been proven was a pretty good one yesterday, Bill. But I guess this doesn't change a ton about the way that I look at this Mike Bobo situation in my mind, because it was always going to be contentious. I mean, even if he came out and he's getting paid $2.5 million, there'd be some Gamecock fans that say, "Wow, that's a pretty good number." I don't think there would have been any Gamecock fans that said, "Oh yeah, I'd like Mike Bobo now. I like the move that he made for the program. I'm cool with it." I just think there are always going to be some hard feelings there, and with Shane Beamer moving forward, I feel like Gamecock fans were always going to side with their new head coach now and not the assistant coach and the other one that was here for a few days that have now moved on. To me, the more interesting number there is the number that Brian Harsin got. I mean, I get he did a good job at Boise State, but man, doing a good job at Boise State and getting a 6-year, $30+ million contract at Auburn, to me, that's a different. I mean, averaging $5.25 million. I know Auburn has silly money, and what they just had to pay Gus Malzahn and the buyout and the whole thing, but wow, that's what really strikes me. A team that came to Williams-Brice Stadium last year in one of the worst years we've seen in Gamecock football in a long time and didn't leave with a win. Just ponied up a king's ransom for a guy who's a Boise State guy, whereas Carolina is paying a guy less than they're paying their basketball coach now with specific knowledge of that SEC, of the South Carolina job and plenty of other SEC programs, and saw his dad really turn a program around and bring him to the heights of college football. That's what's sticking with me this morning in this Auburn situation.
They had to make it look like that's the guy they actually wanted, and not like their 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever the heck choice he was, and one of the only guys that actually would have taken the job. They probably could have gotten away with giving him $3 million, but that would have been a bad look, and you'd basically be admitting, yeah, we got rid of Gus Malzahn, who's a very good football coach and going to find a job immediately, only to hire a guy that we don't even appreciate enough or didn't want enough, and now we're just going to give him a BS contract that we can get out of anytime we want to.
Just a couple things. You mentioned Harsin. Obviously, Auburn released all the contracts yesterday for their 10 assistant coaches. Harsin's was eye-popping. $5.25 million was solid money. Will Friend matches what he was going to make at South Carolina, 2 years, $1.4 million, $700,000 annually. The other one that just popped up, and guys, I was a little surprised just because it was lower than I anticipated, and maybe this ties in with Harsin getting so much money. I thought Derek Mason would be closer to $2 million. He gets a 2-year deal at $3 million, $1.5 million a year, and I was a little surprised it was only a 2-year deal. Maybe they figure, he and they both figured he's going to be gone within 2 years to another head coaching job or something like that. But $1.5 million, when you look at the numbers and you see how much the head coach got versus how much the assistants got, I was a little surprised. As the numbers popped out from Auburn yesterday.
$1.85 million is what Brian Harsin, he's 44 years old, was making at Boise State, and now 5.25. Patrick, you said you can get out of his contract. Well, he gets
no. That's what I was saying. I was saying they gave him this number instead of, because this makes it this one you're stuck to, and this one makes it look like, yeah, this is the guy we wanted. We targeted him, and we gave a boatload of money to make sure that we got our guy, versus he clearly wasn't the first choice, and you give him a contract that indicates that, like a $3 million a year contract that you can get out of anytime you want to. They're committed to him now, and it's going to make their decision look like they were more confident in it.
So that was at least a $12 million PR move, is what you're saying by Auburn?
I guess so. I mean, there's no way they needed to give him that much money to pry away from Boise.
70% of his remaining salary is what he will be owed if he ends up getting fired there within the next 6 years, I guess, is the term of the contract. $5.25 million per. Wow. That'll get you going on a Wednesday morning. 803-404-6100. We got the live video stream up and rolling a couple minutes late. Thanks for your patience there. We see you hanging out with us on Facebook Live, YouTube Live as well, or up on the Twitter page, the station handle there at 1075 The Game. Let's see who's all up. Chris and KT, Trey and Brandon, Matthew as well. Trey says Bobo was not a great fit for the Gamecocks. Knew how to say all the right things, but couldn't get it done on the field. And TJ says, good morning, guys. Good luck to our Gamecocks in the tournament. Talking about the USC women, I guess, and the baseball team will bounce back this week with the Spurs up. Trey weighing in as well, just saying hi. Good morning to all of you guys. Appreciate you waking up bright and early with us this morning. I don't even understand what her handle is now on the live stream as she joins here. She's got a quote.
I think it's Irish.
Oh, yeah? Oh, how about that? What is it? Does it? Yeah. Whoa, Jen, are you proud? You just gave the you and Bill are on the same wavelength kind of move there.
No, that wasn't it at all.
I don't think it's actually Irish. I don't think it's Irish. That's not Irish. But I was joking. It is?
Yeah.
I'm not Irish.
It just means health. Like cheers, health.
Salente?
Cheers to you too, Jen.
Is that right?
There's anyone else out there on the St. Patrick's Day this morning? Does anybody have any green on? Patrick, do you have any green on? I know you have.
I got a hat I'm going to go throw on in a minute.
No.
I got a hat.
I'm celebrating on Saturday.
I have something too.
Yeah, Jen's wearing green. I see Jen's green, I think. Yeah, there we go. Fantastic. We're off to some kind of start this morning. Good to see our buddy Gamecock Larry is going to weigh in on the program. He's on the Love Chevy phone lines. I was just reading an article about our local celebrity in the Lexington Ledger here. And how that's it. It's important. It's an impressive article, except for the joining the game on radio show on FM 105.7. We need to change.
Aww.
Besides that,
yep.
We'll see what Gamecock Larry can get done here. We will hear some words of wisdom from our favorite 86-year-old caller. See what else is on your mind. Feel free to hit us up at 803-404-6100. How do you say the Irish saying, Jen, that you're passing on?
Slanche?
Yeah, that. Let's do that this morning. Cheers to you guys on St. Patty's Day. It's the early game. It's 175.
The home of the Gamecocks and new head football coach, Sheen Beamer.
I'm a process-driven person, and whenever we get started in this program, making it better.
107.5 The Game.
I know it's cliche, but it's the truth.
Welcome, Coach.
St. Patrick's Day is upon us. That means you need a green vehicle to drive around in. That way you don't get pinched when you step out of the car. If you have a green vehicle, you don't have to worry about anything else. You can find some of those at Love Chevrolet. Why? Because the selection of vehicles over there is unmatched. That's right. Finding a green vehicle may be difficult right now. Not a lot of inventory at other dealerships. Not the case at Love Chevrolet. 14 acres of brand new Chevys. They've also included a pre-owned lot that is unmatched by anybody else. That's right. Go visit Love Chevrolet, where they just moved the great pre-owned lot from Love Automotive over I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Now matching the 14 acres of brand new Chevys. Love Chevrolet has added a fantastic pre-owned lot to go along with the $1,000 low price guarantee with that incredible sales staff. All reasons you will not be disappointed if you're looking for a green vehicle or any other type of vehicle for that matter today. Go visit Love Chevrolet. You can do so on the web. You can do so on the web at lovechevy.com. But you can also visit them in person. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Again, $1,000 low price guarantee. So that means the best deal in town. 14 acres of brand new Chevys means the greatest selection anywhere in town. And of course, a phenomenal sales staff. Always enjoy talking with them when I'm over, how knowledgeable they are and how much they are excited to help you. Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Irmo between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads. All right, let's go wake up some kids. Now, this is going to be interesting. We do have a dad moment this morning. I have to figure out how to get them into some green for the day. So follow along. I'm not taking
Love that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all eavesdrop on Bill Gunter.
Good morning, little Irish kids. Time to wake up. There's little leprechauns running around everywhere.
That's so loud.
So my mic is money like usual over here.
Yeah, that's extremely loud.
See if I can make an adjustment.
How many people subscribe to Lexington Ledger? And why have we gotten that article sent to us twice?
Question. Check, check, check.
Better.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Yeah.
Maybe it's gonna be decent. I've had to
I
turn it
think
down.
maybe
It sounds so
maybe
blown out. Right?
it's when it's always every day when you sign on, right when you sign on, it's really loud. And like when you just made your screen big again and left the backstage or whatever, it was really loud, but then it like balanced out, I guess.
Weird. Thanks for hanging in there with the audio issues. So I've still tried to get it connected to the headphones. Hasn't worked yet. We're still working on it. And it's probably a good thing that I haven't been able to plug into the show, because technically we can't put any kind of music on the internet. Nothing.
Oh,
Anything from the radio show at all. So even like just the 5 seconds of intro music,
Yeah.
we're not supposed to have all.
Copyrighted music on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, just
Yeah,
on
all
any podcast availability.
yeah.
Well, we need a local songwriter to write an early game jingle that we can just open our hours to, and then we
Right.
can do it that way.
Just need to write it, send it to us, we'll perform it.
No, they need to record it and send it to us, and we'll open each hour with the early game song.
A lot of potential there.
Yeah, good for everybody.
Just got a text. I'm guessing you guys have heard about Gamecock Cleary. He's
Well,
on
yeah.
hold.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because we've gotten 2 different people sending us a newspaper link that I've never heard of in my life.
Well, he's home. That's good news.
That is good news.
All right, we don't have any responses. You can hear, okay?
Now, it seems like it's going relatively smoothly.
Aw.
Yeah, you're not getting any singing, my friend. I like that you're coming in strong this morning. I haven't seen DM Law on the YouTube live stream before.
All right, we're heading back in.
All right, Greg, thank you. Amy, good morning. Cowboys again. Chris with your Cowboys.
All right, you guys are up. What you do eventually.
As Bill continues to try to get some green on his kids as they get ready in the morning routine in the Gunter household, let's hear some words of wisdom. 803-404-6100. Gamecock Larry joins us now on the Love Chevy phone lines. Good morning, sir. How you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. They let me come home. I don't know what I said to you. I don't. Anyway, you got me throwing off talking about Mike Bobo. But Mike Bobo, I'm glad he's gone. He's the reason, him and Mustang's the reason Paletka's not here anymore. And, at first, Coach Beamer said he's going to keep him, but I'm sure glad they didn't keep him. I'm sure glad he jumped ship for $100,000. But another thing, I want to tell old Root Hog and the Legion of the Gamecock Larry got his orders for everything out there at the VA. And I'm going to do what they say. I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to relax. I'm going to listen to 107.5, 9 or 10 hours a day. I don't listen to them 9 to 12 because I don't like Dan Patrick. And another thing, I told you to talk to Jay from 1 to 4. And I think a little bit of Harrison Fowler is rubbing off on it. All he want to do is bash, bash, bash. And now let me talk about my buddy. Oh, yeah, I'm going to tell the Legion of Doom I got my posse. Dr. Carroll, Dr. Gamecock Macon, Dr. Hunt, Dr. Bulldog McMillan, a few more doctors out there, and all the nurses and everything. They got me squared away. Gamecock Mary's going to be leading. I'm coming after them. Legion of Doom and all these so-called Gamecock fans and all the opponents fans. I'm going to come after you because I'm going to take it easy and I'm going to relax. But another thing, I don't know what this celebrity is. I'm not a celebrity. I'm just an old man enjoys listening to 107.5. And now I got to talk about my buddy Tim. Woke up this morning at 3 o'clock checking my tablet to see if there was any news on Gamecock and Coach Tanner and Coach Martin. Wasn't no news, so I said, oh Lord, if I get up, I got to listen to Tim bash Coach Tanner and Coach Martin and the team. I said, I'll be glad when this thing is over. So then, wants to make a decision, maybe he'll quit bashing them, and he can start bashing Coach Kingston and Coach, Beverly Smith, I think the name of the softball coach, because they had a bad weekend. But the bad weekends are over. The Gamecocks are ready to go. Gamecock Larry is ready to go. And we going to
Gamecock Larry, ladies and gentlemen. Good to hear. Feeling good. Back at home. You guys might have read an article that is recently at the VA hospital. Now he's back. He's got. Did you guys catch that? The doctor's orders apparently were to listen to 107.5 the game 9 or 10 hours a day. I got to check Dr. Bulldog's credentials after that. Good to hear, though. I'm all for it. And Gamecock Larry apparently resting up now. So we'll have plenty of energy ready to lead the charge once football season comes along in a few months from now. That's what I heard. Good to hear. He's feeling so good this morning, taking shots all over the place, basically to everybody. It sounds like everybody on the station except he and Bill and Patrick this morning, and Jim. You guys are safe. I'm sure you feel in honored company.
It's really public enemy number one is everyone on the afternoon.
Pretty much.
They're all number one because they don't take his calls. Poor Gamecock Larry.
Great to hear he's doing well.
So is
bashing Gamecock athletics across the board as we
as as I try to get the kids ready for school here, is sending your kids to school with beads that say Guinness on them, is that appropriate?
Yeah.
Is it?
Are they supposed to wear beads?
No, just something
That's
green.
the only green thing you can get going. Is that the
And
deal?
I think we found a little shirt. We found a little shirt. Not yet. Not yet. They've got several years. They've got several years to go.
Took me a minute, Jen, to figure it out.
Yeah,
Took me a minute to figure out the Guinness Book of World Records. Does that tell you what I
Totally
am?
missed that one, but yeah,
No.
I didn't know it. I didn't know
Yeah.
what Guinness was
I knew-
until I
I-
was.
I knew what she was referring to. I was more like just gonna skip over that, like, because I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm debating this. Like, does any other parents out there have this issue, like with kids? Like, you kind of freak out for your kid. You don't want to send them to school without green on and to be that kid for the day.
And did this quote holiday sneak up on you? Like, it's the first time that we've ever had
No,
it.
I was aware of it last night. I just wasn't in the. I went to bed early last night. There wasn't a whole lot of. I do want to get into this a little bit. There was something that I've never seen on television last night. It was a 30-minute piece on ESPN, and it was called the tournament in November, and it was about the Masters, and it was really cool. And it talked about the Champions Dinner. And it was very limited footage of last year's Champions Dinner. And I kind of want to get into this later on in the show, just about events that you can't attend, just like that are, I don't want to say secret society, but they're like the Champions Dinner. Nobody, obviously, to win, you have to win the Masters, and then you got to play in the Masters. The 4 or 5 of us will never do that. I just.
Bill, you weren't out at the 107.5 the game golf tournament on Friday. I hit the green like 30% of the time from 130 away. Okay.
The video last night of the Champions Dinner, like I was watching it and it was so unique to watch. And they had they were showing like the behind the scenes of it. And it just struck me as like, this is something that you can't buy a ticket to. You can't weasel your way into. You can't sneak into. Like, it is as inclusive as of a sporting event as there is. Can you guys think of anything else?
Complete opposite of what you said.
Exclusive.
Exclusive. I'm sorry. Is there anything else you guys can think of that fits that mold in sports?
I just want to be at the after parties for any championship, basically.
And you can sneak into that. That's
No, you
Yeah.
can't.
you're perfectly capable of getting into that either
Not
locker
really.
room if that's what you're. I mean, you can get in there.
There's a locker room?
It's not impossible. Have you seen how many people they put in those things there? Like you can
Who
pretend
took
like
the video of the Masters dinner?
It was a
It was authorized? Was it authorized is my question.
it was authorized.
All right, so I could have snuck into that then.
No, you
How?
can't. Yeah, how?
What do you say? Who, like a cameraman was allowed in there?
Yeah, they did it. I mean, I don't know if it was like if it was Masters personnel only. I mean, I guess you could pretend to be. I mean, to be a part of the event,
exactly.
to not be working it, to be a part of the event.
I
No.
can't think of anything quite like that for sure, off the top of my head, anyway. Yeah, that would be an interesting place. I'm surprised they let a camera in there at all. Just with the way that the things are around Augusta National and everything that is involved with the Champions Dinner. It also reminds me too, Gamecock Larry, great news out of the hospital, back home today, feeling better. Got his marching orders, plans to follow him. Tiger Woods, the news yesterday as well, also out of the hospital, back home and recovering as well. So we have Gamecock Larry and Tiger. They're about on the same level on the show anyway. I was very humble of Gamecock Larry to play down his celebrity status. I appreciate that. We all know better than that. I hope everyone out there is feeling a little bit better after reading Gamecock Larry was in the VA hospital and feeling better this morning and optimistic about things moving forward. We'll get back into some of those details of the new Auburn coaches there and how it pertains to Mike Bobo and our takes on that as we continue to roll on this morning. Also, yeah, it's basically no news is how I'm reading the Gamecock basketball situation, Bill. I know yesterday you had thought maybe by this time today we would have had some kind of conclusion or at least some word out of the recent meeting between Ray Tanner and Frank Martin, but still in a kind of a holding pattern from the outside looking in. Is that where we're at?
I think there was two moves yesterday one was a coach leaving his current school to go to Iowa State. UNLV would be that school. We'll get into that. And then the other is potentially DePaul. I think that is two intriguing possibilities if you wanted a clean split for Frank Martin to maybe have a landing spot or a soft landing spot. I think that's something that we can discuss here later on, is potentially why no news comes out to make it look like it's a mutual parting of the ways on all sides.
But again, you're reading the tea leaves into this.
Yes, definitely.
Nothing near official or any kind of reports out of USC about where it will end up with Frank Martin in the basketball program. Love to hear your thoughts this morning at 803-404-6100. Up and rolling on all the live streams there. Anthony from Kershaw just hit us up on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Gamecock Larry greater than Dan Patrick. Billy says, glad Mike Bobo went Coco. He has not missed. Is Frank Martin still the men's coach? I sure hope so. Thanks. Yes, he is. And Jonathan, glad to hear that Gamecock Larry is doing well and back home and full of energy this morning. As am I. We'll try to match that as we continue to roll on this morning. It's a 3-hour show, so I don't know if we'll be able to do it. We'll do our best. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
This is Gamecock basketball head coach Frank Martin, and you're listening to 107.5 The Game.
All right.
WFMT-FM, Eastover, Columbus.
Amy, who are you referring to? Patrick's in a corner, but he doesn't have a hat.
I think that was me, I guess. I did say my neighbor has the Wiener Dogs. And Amy, there was an article out there that Gamecock Larry was in the hospital. And
we go make sure kids are getting ready and getting their green on.
Gotcha. An AKA are on the text line, huh? So now I'm going to have to try to identify DMs, texts. It's a great question. Trey's asking, can't you just take off the Guinness part on the beads? I'm guessing it's not quite that easy. Patrick, I think your point was the best one. Kids don't know what Guinness is. Who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And if you're worried about your reputation with the teachers, maybe you don't go and give your bourbon reviews on the morning show every other morning. I don't think it's a big secret. They would probably enjoy it.
Yeah. What was the question about the Cowboys? Oh, O-lineman. Yeah, Ty Nseke. He was a Redskin for a long time. Good swing tackle, but Cowboys have 2 tackles already. He's probably been the best swing tackle in football the last couple of years. Plays well whenever he gets in, but doesn't play very often. I always thought he should move inside to guards, and maybe the Cowboys have some sort of plan to move him inside. Doesn't really move the needle much, though, unless that's their plan.
So what is – yeah, there's no – this is weird. Oh, wow. Just trying to figure out what this Deshaun Watson thing was. Apparently, the quote is Watson went too far with a woman who was giving him a massage.
Yeah. Apparently she was a neighbor of Cal McNair's, and Watson categorically denies everything and says that the lawyer said that it wasn't about money, but he said that was asking him for 6 figures. So
right.
I think the immediate response was everyone that I saw on Twitter was Team Watson on this one.
All right,
There's also some – the Texans gave him $1.5 million to Derek Rivers, who has played for 3 seasons, missed 1 with a torn ACL, has a combined 7 tackles and never started a game. They gave him $1.5 million. never been a good player, but Jackie used to be officiated his wedding.
Interesting.
So eyebrows are raised, to say the least.
Hey, Tyrod Taylor making the larger news for them, obviously, right?
Yeah, well, that was a larger name, but I just read this story. I didn't realize that was the case. So it just kind of implies who's making the decisions on everyone they sign.
There you got those.
Well, it's Georgia Pro Day.
What's that?
It's Georgia Pro Day. I only know that because Muschamp retweeted it. I should probably follow him.
Is it a week from today that Carolina has its pro day? Is that right?
Sounds all right.
Reading Pro Football Talk. Is that where you got this thing?
Yeah, I saw it. It was only like an hour ago.
6:14, 30 minutes ago.
30 minutes ago.
Oh, we're all over.
The kid's not a good player. Like his
Yeah.
career might have ended if he didn't get signed by the Texans.
Did you wear it yesterday? Oh, okay. Yeah, go get it. Go get it. We're going to leave here in about 10 minutes. Y'all got to be at school a little bit earlier right now. It's like herding cats over here.
Welcome to my world every morning.
We're just hanging out. Ansley's being a rebel. She's not wearing green. Apparently, we're at that age where it's just she's not going to do it. We've got something enough for
her.
Austin. Craig, that was really good. It really was a neat little documentary, and they showed them preparing Tiger's dinner. But then they just showed like the interaction of the guys in the little room, and just like you had Fred Couples and Phil Mickelson. There was some champions in there I didn't recognize. Jordan Spieth. It was just like a really cool kind of behind the scenes of a dinner that, like a special club that you have almost no way of getting into. Thank you, David. They're not going. I'm not sending them with beads. No pinching. Yeah, I would imagine this year with social distancing, it's probably a signs up around.
They just generally don't want kids pinching each other.
Yeah, it seems like something that we got away with in our time that kids can't do now. That qualifies as bullying now. Hadn't seen the other cat. Hadn't seen Clyde. I'm sure he's around somewhere.
All right, guys, are
Bill and Patrick coming in hot this morning. The numbers coming out over at Auburn. Brian Harsin, $5.25 million is what the former Boise State head coach is going to average in the 6-year contract he signed over at Auburn. Derek Mason getting a 2-year, $1.5 per year contract. And it was Mike Bobo, the headliner for us. And a bit of surprise for sure, Bill. I agree with where you're coming from originally, that it wasn't a raise. It was maybe a $100,000 raise. He's getting paid $1.2 million to be the offensive coordinator. Carolina had re-signed for another 2 years, but now he's signed up for a 3-year contract over at Auburn where he'll make $1.3 million. And can you go through, I guess, how you translated that again, and maybe I can understand it a little bit more the second time? I was confused the first time. Maybe it was because it's how we started the show, and I'm a little slow this morning.
You need more coffee. You need a good Guinness to get you going here this morning. It's a Patrick strategy, I think. I think it's the way the situation played out with Mike Bobo at the end of his being an interim head coach, the loyalty that he preached, the way things kind of played out with him signing a contract and then having a press conference to kind of once again preach loyalty. And then you turned around and you had this situation with Mike Bobo and Shane Beamer. And there's a lot of different little moving parts to this. There is the part of just Mike Bobo as a coach and a person preaching what he preached and then completely bailing on it. There is another part that I thought was interesting, which is how Shane Beamer elected to handle the situation, which again, I think, you can look at that right now and it's not going to translate to wins and losses, but how Shane Beamer is going to run this football program. And Patrick made a good point about it. Shane Beamer is going to run it like you should be excited to be here. You should be grateful. And they showed some videos, the video staff of Luke Day talking about how grateful he is to work at that operations building and to work with those players. And I think when we talk about Shane Beamer building this staff and putting together a staff that wants to be here, is going to work together, that also kind of resonates with me in this situation with Mike Bobo about just jumping ship, absolutely jumping ship. And then so there's part two to that, which again is Shane Beamer and how he elected to handle it, which I think earns major respect from me, in that he didn't just back down and roll over and go, oh, we got to keep Mike Bobo. I'm a first-time head coach, and this guy's been in the SEC for a while, and he kind of knows the ins and outs, and he's got a 5-star quarterback committed. We got to keep Mike Bobo. No, he basically told him, you know what, hit the brakes, buddy. Get out of here. If you're gonna sit up there in a press conference with me next to you and pledge your loyalty to me and this program, and then less than a week later, you're gonna tell me about another offer you've got, we don't need you here. So I think that's part of it. And then the third part, which again, just recruiting nerd part of me, it makes you wonder, was Gunnar Stockton even going to stick with South Carolina? How committed was Mike Bobo? Like because I feel like there's a lot of people that would have jumped completely off the Mike Bobo train if you said Gunnar Stockton was not coming to South Carolina to follow him in the following year. That Gunnar Stockton was basically just a card that Mike Bobo was using to hang on at South Carolina to get that money.
And I think they'd be, even by the same token, they'd be even more upset and despise Bobo even more if Gunnar Stockton was going to Auburn.
Yep. The fact that he didn't follow him to Auburn, also makes, I think it's just curious because we heard of how close that relationship is.
Patrick, the fact that he's going to Georgia makes me think he wasn't coming to South Carolina. As soon as everything fell apart here, he wasn't going to be a game.
And that's almost why I wonder if Mike Bobo was like, hey, hang on and stay committed to me for a few months and let me make sure that I've got this job. And then next signing day, you can go ahead and go wherever else you want because I'll be out of here by then. Like, it really comes across to me as Mike Bobo was sitting here for 1 year, was going to collect his check, and then was going to be anywhere else next year, and that he had already informed Gunnar Stockton. I'm with you on that. The fact that Gunnar Stockton went to Georgia and not Auburn, I think, is a little intriguing as well.
Right, now, you guys aren't mentioning Will Muschamp making that move at all? Like there was no relationship between Muschamp and Stockton?
Well, it came down to South Carolina and Georgia in the first place before Muschamp was there either. I don't think Muschamp influenced Stockton going to –
Yeah.
See, wasn't Stockton committed to Georgia before Muschamp joined the staff in whatever capacity he's there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. He committed pretty quickly. Yeah, you're right.
It's an interesting situation for sure. I'm not sure I see it quite the same way you guys do. Just an extra year. And I always feel like when it comes down to even coaches and players like you guys are talking about with recruits and specific coaches, and obviously that was an issue with Ryan Hilinski and Mike Bobo. Hilinski having been recruited on a previous staff, and it just didn't work out between those two. I think it does have something to do with head coaches coming in. You know, we see it all the time with athletic directors. If they didn't hire the coach, then it's a tenuous situation. I think that's where Mike Bobo found himself. He got hired by a different guy. That guy was out. and he got left to be in charge of the pieces at the end. I understand
15.
taking an extra year at an Auburn job, and Patrick, you mentioned it, better job, but a lot of pressure comes with that job as well, and it's a new start there. I think everybody's better off in this situation. I think new start for Mike Bobo, new start for Shane Beamer in the offense. We'll continue to discuss in hour 2.
All right, I gotta grab some.
Good luck out there, Bill.
All right. I will. I'm going to mute this, and I'll be
take you
out.
out. Pretty good. These guys just leaving me. Patrick just leaving me high and dry.
The important people are here.
That's right. We'll get rid of Patrick on here too. How about that? We showed him.
Nice.
Let's see what we get. So never been a big wear green guy on St. Patrick's Day.
I don't wear a lot of it.
Just your main shirt there. Oh, Patrick's back. He wants to get in on the show now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Bill reminded me by mentioning Guinness. I do have Guinness. We'll say that later, but got that Carnalan's Irish Cream.
Oh,
Use that for the coffee.
Is that the rival of Bailey's? Is that the
Yeah,
much more authentically Irish one?
It's the cheaper version.
Ah, I see.
there you go.
Bailey's cheaper cousin.
And we've also, of course, got the Proper 12. Gotta have it. You know, that
Never
is,
even heard of it.
that's the Conor McGregor
Ah.
Irish whiskey.
So what's
Yeah,
the typical Irish whiskey?
Jameson.
Jameson. Yes. Oh, are you a Jameson guy? I am not.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I just really like all the Irish beers. I have Highland Gaelic Ale. I got some Smithwick's Red Ale, and I've got Guinness. We're doing our St. Patty's Day on Saturday.
Impressive.
Gonna slow roast some big old corned beef breast.
Breast?
It's like huge. It's like that big, yeah.
I didn't think that's where the corned beef came from, but
No, but that's what they call it. I think that's just a generic term. It's like right when you walk in Publix, they have a big old
slab.
yeah.
KT, does that mean you're a UPS guy? Because he's wearing all brown. Chris, his work shirts are green, so I'm trying to figure out where he works as well.
Maybe a bank?
I don't know what I have that's green. Let me check.
If I went to a bank and they're wearing all green just because
Well,
they're working a bank,
there is a
I am
bank,
leaving
yeah.
that bank real quick. You're not getting my money.
No,
Not that
there
I
is a
have.
bank that their colors are black and green. Yeah, green and black.
Gold. All right, we got two shirts here, gold and green. You pick.
You're right.
Let's all guess where Chris works. It's green shirt. Trying
Yeah,
to
that's
think.
my guess.
I would guess. Well, let's see. We'll look at his picture real quick too. Looks like he might be wearing a green shirt in the picture. I can't quite tell.
I think he's a T.
Oh, impressive, Patrick.
Skull Bandit Racing.
Nice.
Mine's not that cool.
My got my helmet here. My helmet's green, kinda.
There you go.
These helmets are sweet.
Oh,
Yeah.
Chris gave it away. Attaboy, Chris.
Okay.
Oh, Patrick's going. That's the cross helmet.
Yeah,
Yep.
those are cool.
That does look strong. It's going to be tough to wear the headset with that, but I think you can pull it off.
My head's always been a little big for the helmets.
That was never the problem with my son when he played baseball and then when he played lacrosse. Dude, like is the helmet gonna fit his head?
It hurt. They had to rip some of the padding out of my high school helmet to make it fit.
Did they? Yeah, that's good. That's what you want.
I think it's an appropriate question, Jesse, after seeing all the headgear.
Yeah. No, I'm drinking Carolans. Made with fresh cream and honey. You don't refrigerate Irish cream, right? No.
It's a great question. I don't think so. I have seen that happen before, and I think there was some Baileys that went bad in my parents' cabinet for years.
Best before. Well, I can't read that.
That's
Yeah.
good.
It's like really dark. It's a 9/20/22. Yeah, we'll be okay.
Phew.
I'm
What
guessing
size
he's an
is that?
8, Chris.
8, yeah. I'm 8.
Well, Ironhead Hayward over there. That explains all that brain power you have.
Exactly. Yeah, I used to be above an 8 when I had really long hair, but I can fit into 8 now. And a size 15 shoe.
Yeah, somebody hit us up with "You're a big boy" earlier to start with. I think that was DM to AM or DZ.
That's right.
Somebody. Travis, I don't think it is at all at this point. I guess we'll have to see what else comes out. Do you agree, Patrick?
Yeah, and if anything, that would hurt his trade stock. I don't know. That would be interesting. I would think that the Texans would want his stock to be at its highest.
Right.
Be a wild move to sabotage his trade value so that he can't leave, even if he wanted to.
So, Jen, I'm reading 2 breaks this hour and 0 res going into this one, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yep.
Here, Jesse.
Guys, rip.
Top of the Wednesday morning to you. During the live video stream here during the break, Patrick's been showing us his Irish libations, the choices he'll be going with on Saturday when the celebration. Did you say you guys are cooking the corned beef? Is that yeah?
Yeah, I think it's a crockpot thing.
Okay. So you're not in charge of the preparation here?
No.
Yeah. See, I hear you.
I'm in charge of the libations.
Okay, yes. You do what you know. Do what you know. Jason just hit us up, says, can Bill or Patrick perform an Irish jig later? You think, Patrick?
I left my clogs back in Maryland.
Okay, fair enough. He has tried on his lacrosse helmet and another hat during this top hour break here that had some green to it.
I don't have much green, surprisingly.
Why didn't Jason ask if Jen can do the Irish jig? She's the only one wearing green this morning. Came in with the is that a green hoodie? I have a green hoodie. I was not wearing it.
Kind of.
You got it?
Yeah.
No, not quite a hoodie, or
No, it is.
yes.
Sorry, yeah, it is. It is a hoodie. But it's like a thinner one. It's not a heavy.
Right.
I don't like the real heavy ones.
Fair. I mean, you got to juggle all kinds of stuff in the producer's booth at Herndon Chevrolet Studios every morning, and
Exactly.
can't have that weighing you down. I
No,
understand.
gotta be able to run.
So Chris says corned beef and cabbage. He's going traditional there.
That's what we're doing.
Is it corned beef brisket? Craig asks. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't even know what brisket is in like specific terms. I just know that I like to eat it.
Yeah, Jade, can you help us out with that definition? I know I can look it up right now.
Yeah.
What technically is brisket? It's barbecue, right? It's like Texas barbecue is how I know it. Like, that's how they do their barbecue, which is not how we do it here. It's not like the pulled pork. It's more like a slab.
Yeah.
To me, it's
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm eating. It says it's from the breasts or lower lower chest.
Is that where? Okay. See, I didn't know where it was from.
But that's like what it looks like. It's that big. That's like a big old. It's a couple pounds.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
That I know. Cook it in beer.
Okay, you guys are very
Good
festive this morning.
Hmm?
From the sports perspective, we've been talking about the Auburn coaching contract details that have popped out. Brian Harsin, $5.25 million per, a 6-year deal is where Auburn is where Auburn is going with their new head coach. $1.5 million for 2 years for former Vandy head coach Derek Mason to run the defense, which is $1 million less per year than Kevin Steele was getting paid, which is mind-boggling. But that's where we are a lot of times. Also, the more relevant news to us in Columbia, with Mike Bobo having jumped ship from Carolina to run that offense over in Auburn, is a bit of a surprising news about those numbers. $1.3 million per year is all Auburn is paying Mike Bobo. I say all, and you might be headed to your job this morning saying, man, I would like that $1.3 million. Yeah, I think we all would, don't get me wrong, but he was making 1.2 and had re-signed a new 2-year deal at Carolina. So the thought process was, at least I think from a lot of us on the outside, hey, if Auburn's going to offer you a 50% raise, pay you 1.8 or something, I mean, how can you not turn that down? And making $2 million a year, something that Auburn would have paid him a lot more. I think Bill's conclusion this morning, and as he's getting the kids off to school, and he'll be rejoining the show here soon. But I think he has maybe even more, either more or a newfound respect, or come to the conclusion that Shane Beamer might have taken a stronger stance than he would have originally thought, because Mike Bobo is making $1.3 million at Auburn, and had to have come to Shane Beamer at some point in this process after signing that deal and saying he'd stay on and be the offensive coordinator for Beamer, that, hey, I got this deal from Auburn. And then, of course, money has to pop up. And if you're the head coach of Carolina football and an assistant coach comes to you that is one of 4 guys holding over from the previous staff and says, yeah, they want me over here, then I think first thing I would ask Patrick is like, all right, well, how good's the offer, right? And to see if then you go to Ray Tanner and say, hey, this is what is being offered. We need to come over the top, or we need to match it, or the whole thing. I'm sure a lot of you have been in this position to some degree in your professional life, right? You get another opportunity out there, then you go discuss it with the people you work with, assuming that you have any interest in staying in that job. I guess some of you might just not show up to work the next morning and show up at the other job, and that's how sometimes I guess some of these things end up. But if you're having professional courtesy at least, or if you have an interest in staying at your current job and using the other offer more as leverage to improve your situation, that's what you do. And the fact that Carolina didn't come over the top, I think Shane Beamer is savvy enough to understand that you can't announce a 2-year deal for what's the best way to put Mike Bobo in his standing with the Carolina fan base when that was going down, Patrick? I would say maybe a 60% approval rate, somewhere in there.
I think it was higher at that point because of how things unfolded at the end of the year, and like kind of the way he kept the program steady and everything he kind of preached at that point, which proved to just be empty words. But I think, and the fact that Gunnar Stockton was still supposedly coming to Carolina at that time.
Okay, that's a good point. Having one of the best quarterbacks, high school quarterbacks in the country, as a guy attached to you and committed to South Carolina certainly did carry a lot of weight. But we mentioned it during the process. You don't keep a coach because of one commit, of one high school prospect that you think might turn out. And there are plenty of examples of a bunch of talented high school quarterbacks that have come to Carolina through the years and just not panned out. And I think for those that did have a lot of optimism and hold Mike Bobo in high esteem with Gunnar Stockton, maybe there's also that section out there that held it against him that Ryan Helinski wasn't working out with him and really didn't get a large opportunity on the field this year in that Mike Bobo offense. So maybe 70% approval rating, right? It wasn't that high. You can't have an offensive coordinator with an extremely high approval rating with the fan base after a 2-8 season. It's near impossible unless you scored a ton of points and your defense just gave up a ton of points, which wasn't exactly how it went down for the Gamecocks.
Who was closely tied with the coach who had a 0% approval rating.
Exactly. You knew, I mean, the long-standing relationship between Bobo and Will Muschamp going back to their college days at Georgia, a guy who had been a long-time offensive coordinator at Georgia and kind of a bit of a lightning rod with that fan base as well. So complicated, I think, is maybe the best way to put his reputation amongst Gamecock fans when Shane Beamer decided to keep him on. But it did make sense for Beamer coming in, first-year head coach, a guy who's been a head coach before in Mike Bobo out of Colorado State, a guy who's been a long-time offensive coordinator, plenty of experience in the league. You keep him on, say, okay, that makes sense. Beamer told the story of his dad, Frank, trying to hire Mike Bobo up to Virginia Tech at one point. It gives you a little bit more backstory and maybe a little bit more cachet with the fan base. You say, okay, this is going to be a good situation. But then several days later, decides to move over to Auburn. That just ticks Gamecock fans off in general. No matter what the improvement might have been in living situations or income or whatever, but then now to see it's basically the same deal. It's an extra year. It's a 3-year contract at 1.3 instead of a 2-year contract at 1.2 million per year. But I think a lot of people feeling the same way that you came into the show, Patrick, of Mike Bobo. The opinion wasn't high when he made the move, and now to see this, I think it just grizzles Gamecock fans that much more, even though I think most Carolina fans would readily admit, the offensive coordinator job at Auburn, a better job than the offensive coordinator job at South Carolina. Just historically, that's what it's been. Does that sound like a fair summary of where we start this morning, sir?
Yeah, I just don't. For me, this news doesn't change much, if anything. Like it was snakish what he did, and no number unless it was above 2, starting with a 2, was going to change that at all for me, really. But I don't know why we should be surprised, and I don't know why it's a huge deal. I mean, he left for a better job. Shouldn't be surprised with a new regime. He's going to have a little bit more leash there, probably better tools to work with. And he just talks like a football coach talks. I mean, I don't think we shouldn't take football coaches' words as gospel. I mean, it's like he just preached the same things that he tries to tell his team and probably has it programmed into his brain. And he says it during recruiting trips. He says it during team meetings and everything. So everything he says about being loyal to the program and all that, he's probably saying the same things in Auburn right now, and they're eating it up. And if things aren't going well in a couple of years and another opportunity presents itself and Georgia comes calling and needs an offense coordinator, I'm sure he won't hesitate to leave and go there either. That's just what a SEC mercenary coach is and what they do.
Interesting end to that. So that's what you see Mike Bobo as? Because
at this point, yeah, now he is.
So this is just his 3rd job in the SEC, I believe.
Yeah.
It was Georgia, but because it was such a long-standing run at Georgia, his alma mater, I don't see him in quite the same vein as some other guys, like you mentioned, and Will Muschamp kind of leading that list. I guess Bobo's buddy, Will Friend, you got to throw him in there now, Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina quickly, and now over to Auburn. And that was the reputation of the previous coaching staff at Carolina for sure.
Will Muschamp did it kind of more out of necessity, though. I mean, he was hired as a head coach and then needed to be a defensive coordinator because he lost his job. And then his next move was a promotion as a head coaching job, and now he's back down. So, I mean, this is a lateral move for Bobo. Nothing really changes for him other than the scenery. So, at this point, that's kind of what he's doing. He's just bouncing around. So,
you mentioned earlier, you said you were talking about college football coaches and not having integrity or willing to do this. Do you really think they're different than just the rest of us?
No. I don't think, but I think for some reason we hold them to a higher esteem because their checks have an extra 0 on them or a couple extra zeros. So I just don't think any of this should be a surprise.
Well, isn't it that we hear in press conferences all the time, or they're telling their players they're preaching. They're in charge of developing guys in highly moldable years, for lack of a better word, right? And they're always talking about that's how their real job. That's what a part of their job, if not all of their job, really is, right? In the big picture, it's all about developing winners off the field or off the court instead of just winning games on the. To me, that's the main difference between college coaching and the rest of us in professional life, because I certainly don't see that as my job. I don't think I preach to you very often about how you have to be a man of your word, Patrick, and you have to treat you like an adult, that you've already learned these lessons and you're already in this. But coaching is a little bit different. So kind of by nature, it puts you in an awkward position. And we've seen just brutal examples of this through the years, where a guy will get a job for 1 year and preach. I'm trying to think of the latest example of that. It was, I want to say, well, I think we saw Willie Taggart get hit with that when he was out at Oregon really quickly and then came to Florida State, but he had the Florida State ties, right? I'm trying to think, was it Michigan State recently? That's where I'm thinking. He was out at Colorado in it's Mel Tucker, right? It was building things at Colorado, and then hopped up at Michigan State real quickly. And I think he got ripped at Colorado for it because it was all about changing the culture and building the program and the whole thing, and then jet. So you see this happen all the time. But I think it's kind of by nature. It's just part of the job. It's just how much do you go all in on that, right, in your message. And then if that's your identity, and then you turn around and you just jump at the better offer, then who are you really? I think is what we're left to decide as fans and former players. And listening to former players talk about coaches in these situations, it's really interesting to see the impression that leaves with them. Because, man, you can just completely crush your reputation, or kind of just take your own feet out from underneath you if you make a move like this to the 18 to 22-year-olds who know exactly what's going on, right? And that's the thing about preaching too much about that. I appreciated it about Will Muschamp, actually. He didn't go up there and stand on a podium and go off about life lessons too much. He was a football guy, and he knew it, and he stuck to that. And you didn't get a lot of hypocritical talk one way or the other, or both ways, I guess I should say, from Will Muschamp.
It's a uniquely college football thing because, I mean, first of all, you have to recruit the players, so you have to preach to them to get them on campus, and then when you leave them, it feels like everything you've said for the last year was just completely untrue, and you stabbed them in the back. And the terms of the moving to a lateral job, I mean, you hardly ever see a coordinator in the NFL go leave to coordinate a different team. I can't think of any examples of that off the top of my head. Every move is a upgrade. Like, you go from positional coach to a coordinator to head coach, and I think for the most part that's kind of how it goes in college football. But there's so many different tiers that there's always a better job. Whereas an offensive coordinator for the Bengals isn't as necessarily as good of a job as offensive coordinator of the Patriots, but you're not going to leave because the salary is basically the same, and you got to have that chance to build it. So I don't know. It's just a very uniquely college thing, college sports and college football in particular thing. It's hard to compare it to anything else.
And right now, for Shane Beamer coming into his first job, I feel like it adds to that unique situation because that's his first offensive coordinator. Mike Bobo technically his first offensive coordinator at Carolina. It's not just a professional situation, it's a personal deal. On the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, David says, I think the Auburn game is circled in Beamer's office. The clip you referenced could make you think it was viewed as a personal betrayal also. I think talking about just when he was mentioning for the first time publicly about Mike Bobo jumping to Auburn and say we wish him well. I didn't know exactly what to say exactly publicly about that without getting too much into it. Chris says, I hope Shane will be here as long as his dad was at Virginia Tech. And Craig says, Bobo went to a better job. Fans need to get over it. Yeah. So
I don't think the fans care. I don't think that if If Bill hadn't mentioned it this morning, I wouldn't have known about the salary. And I don't think if we were talking about it, people would be at the water coolers being like, "Do you see that Bobo only got 1.3 versus the 1.2 we were going to give him?" That SOB. Like, I don't think that was really the case. They'll want to beat him when we play Auburn again, but that's just kind of because, hey, you left us, and they'll just want to get back at him for a little bit. But I don't think it's like deep-seated hatred or anybody really cares that much.
I noticed how you mentioned in Bengals offensive coordinator job. Patrick's always working in the NFL angles these days. Plenty of notable NFL headlines popping up yesterday, including a historic free agent deal and Deshaun Watson. Some news there. We'll get into those details as we continue to roll on. No news out of the Gamecock basketball situation, by the way. Some minor movement maybe in college basketball as the coaching carousel continues to roll yesterday. We'll catch you up to that as we continue to roll on this morning as well. Up and rolling on the video live stream. You can catch us on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Also up and rolling on Twitter on the station handle at 1075 The Game, where you can find us there. Love for you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, 1075 The Game. Just go and search there, and it's relatively easy to push that button, and then you'll make sure you're up to date on all the video happenings here. We appreciate you if you're doing just the traditional audio deal, whether it's on the FM dial or on the 1075thegame.com, the website, or the 1075 The Game app. Appreciate you how you're joining us no matter what on this Wednesday morning as March Madness is about to tip off in the middle of your week, in the middle of the show, trying to get you through and put a smile on your face. We'll continue to try to do our best with that. You're listening to the early game here on 1075 The Game.
Clear.
Interesting timing for this promo. Hey, need to tell you about Zero Res carpet and air duct cleaning. Zero Res has come out to my house a couple of times and done a great job cleaning my carpets. I know they can do the same for you, whether it's at your home or if you're in charge of a business. The commercial cleaning division at Zero Res also working day and night businesses all over the Midlands, making sure everything is clean and sanitized, following all those CDC guidelines. And at my house these days, I'm almost out of the woods, I feel like. I was thinking yesterday as I was continuing to circle around my house with the almost 1-year-old who's waddling. We have to follow him everywhere, and he's pulling up the vents and the whole thing. And so I'm very, very associated with my floors these days, more so than usual. But eventually he'll get a little sturdier, and we won't have to follow him around quite so closely in the whole deal. But in the meantime, I am extra appreciative of what Zero Res has done at my house. And not just because they've done a great job cleaning my carpets. They cleaned an area rug for me, as well as freshened up the tiles in the bathroom and the kitchen at my house. But because of the patented cleaning process that uses powered water that they use, no harsh chemicals involved. That means I got nothing to worry about with my little guy there, with a 6 and 8-year-old always wrestling around on the floors and the whole thing. Didn't have anything to worry about because of no harsh chemicals involved. And also, my carpets stayed cleaner longer because there's no leftover soapy residue with the Zero Res patented powered water process. Right now, they've got a great deal for you as well. 3 rooms of carpet cleaned, only $119, plus a free hallway when you mention me, Tim Hill. Give them a call today, 803-262-4020, or book online at ZeroResColumbia.com. It's Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. Go.
This is cool. This is where I wish I could be. Oh my God.
Sorry, how about now?
Better? Yeah, better. Yeah, this is where I wish I could be at Fly Ball because Rappaport just put out a video saying that the Dalton deal they weren't trying to go with Andy Dalton until yesterday, and they really thought they were going to get the Russell Wilson deal done. They were meeting, the 2 GMs were meeting in Fargo, North Dakota. So they were all showed up to Trey Lance's pro day, and Ryan Pace just like pulled John Schneider into the back room and was like, "Come on, work with me. Let's get something done." Like, Those are the conversations I desperately wish I could hear. I want to know how close it was. I want to know how those negotiations go really badly. Like Schneider says, yeah, we're going to need 5 ones. And Pace is like, can I give you this? And they say, we need Khalil Mack too. He's like, well, I can't do that. And I just want to hear those conversations really badly.
How about Waddy? That's a heck of an Irish meal you got going.
Yeah. Just one potato? Just a baked potato?
Just a raw one. Like an apple.
And what's the 6-pack of?
All right, so we got Trent Williams, Dalton, Deshaun Watson. Anything else you want to get to NFL wise? Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders is a big one, but Hunter Henry's big.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See the meme of Belichick, the Boston Tea Party with TE just for Tea.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one of the day in terms of what it kind of signifies. Trent Williams got a monster deal this morning, though.
What's that?
Trent Williams happened this morning, like 2 hours ago. That was a monster deal. That means they were up until 3:30 putting that thing together.
Or they did it last night and they wanted to get it out in the morning for some reason. That'd be weird.
Right now, please zero cost when you do.
Oh yeah, I need to look up the old baseball scores. It was a interesting night in college baseball last night. See if we got the page. Yeah, there we go.
And the football team got the best corner in free agency. Really pumped about that.
The football team. Blech.
Ryan Fitzpatrick and William Jackson, pretty decent. All you have to do is become a GM or head coach of an NFL team. Here, those negotiations. I couldn't be a head coach, but I legitimately think I could be a GM with a cap guy. If I had a guy to teach, explain all the intricacies of the salary cap, I could do it.
Isn't that supposed to be the GM?
No, they'll have cap guys. Like our GM is Marty Herney or Marty Mayhew now, Martin Mayhew. But Rob Rogers is our cap guy.
That's the nerdiest job in sports, isn't it?
The cap guy.
Yeah.
I heard the Saints guy's name for the first time yesterday, and I already forgot it, but it's like the unsung hero of the Saints organization for just making all these numbers work. He's just Rain Man with a salary cap.
Patrick, all you got to do is just become a GM or a head coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jan, I saw that. I'm looking at it right now. But that's just what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ranked teams going down last night. Well, Curtis Samuel's still out there, right? Oh, you're saying already, Jesse? I was reading how they might try to pop him in there, and then that will help sweeten the Deshaun Watson bait.
I don't think they need to sweeten the deal for Deshaun, really.
Oh, I mean, that wouldn't hurt, right?
No, yeah, I think it's just more. I think it's the Panthers they need to sell if they or the Texans they need to sell if they could get the agreement done. I don't think Deshaun would use his no trade clause to reject Carolina.
Gotcha.
I would be surprised by that, even though there was a report from I think the Athletic yesterday that said San Francisco and Denver are his top priorities. Definitely not my favorite movie, but it is my favorite bad movie.
Can you delineate? Can you tell us the difference there?
Like, my favorite movie is probably either The Dark Knight or The Departed, but I do have, like, Draft Day is just super corny and obviously not how anything works in the draft, but it does just make me happy. And it, like, just the fact that if you have Kevin Costner as your GM, you can completely turn the fortunes of a broken franchise in one day, and that's what I love about the draft.
I haven't seen any Mike Davis news. Have you?
Now,
Did see that Todd Gurley tweeted out the other day. Me and Mike Davis are like looking at my watch. I think was the
it's not a good time to be a free agent running back. Todd Gurley's just not going to get another job. I don't know how you could trust him to stay healthy and perform at a high level. And he's going to command he wants a lot of money. I don't think Todd Gurley would take a vet minimum. He's made his money. It's hard out here. Hard out here for free agent running backs.
Get to tee it up at Williams-Brice. I wouldn't even think about the possibility of doing that, but that's what the Top Golf Live experience will be. April 8th through April 11th. Top Golf Live, bringing the Top Golf experience to iconic stadiums around the country, and Williams-Brice, the spot, in just a few weeks from now, less than a month away. Head over to our website, 1075thegame.com. You can register for a chance to win a pair of tickets to tee it up at 6 o'clock on Saturday, April 10th. Top Golf Live at Williams-Brice Stadium. Getting into some NFL news. Patrick's all over this thing at _Patrick Perrette, where you can catch his NFL analysis. And a lot of movement. And the latest is, I guess, really the biggest so far in the free agent market, wouldn't you say? And biggest in a couple of different ways?
Yes, just because he was probably one of the best players overall. Trent Williams breaking the record for highest paid offensive lineman of all time, 6-year deal with the 49ers. I'm kind of surprised how long of a deal he signed. I thought he might want to get one more crack at free agency before he retired, but this will likely be the last deal he signs. He's just a stud. He's a monster in the run game and never gets beat. He's arguably the best left tackle in football, and I don't think it should come as a surprise at all. The 49ers have been trying to move money around to make sure they could fit him in there. They wanted to keep him there. They had Joe Staley for a long time and immediately switched him up with Trent Williams, so they've had that left tackle position solidified for 15 years or something like that. He wanted to stay in San Francisco. He's played for Kyle Shanahan in Washington. He loves Kyle Shanahan. He's perfect for Kyle Shanahan's offense and the zone running deal. So I don't think that should be a surprise at all, but it is one guy. Teams were grasping at the idea that they might be able to get Trent Williams, and now that thing's kind of dead. So big deal. Not necessarily, I think, the most shocking news of the day, but I think in terms of importance or the value of the player, you're probably right. It's the biggest deal.
$55.1 million in guaranteed money, but the total number, 6 years, $138 million, making him the highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history. A $30.1 million signing bonus as well. The numbers absolutely astronomical, but Trent Williams has the track record to go with that.
Now I'm concerned because he's going to end up playing 7 years with the 49ers, and he's kind of salty at Washington, it seems like. He's a Hall of Famer, and if he goes in the Hall of Fame and chooses to be a 49er, like getting enshrined as a 49er, I'm going to be upset.
Is that a deal? I don't think that's a deal in Canton, is it? I know it's a deal in Cooperstown with the hats, but you don't wear a helmet.
No, but I think it says on. I think you get enshrined as a member of a certain team.
Okay, I just thought it was the bust of basically your head.
Yeah.
Your face. So you don't have to have a logo attached to it necessarily. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I would assume they would just put all the teams that you play with. But I mean, when you're a Washington football team fan these days, you got to take what you can get, right? Any Hall of Famer associated with that team in the last couple of decades the list is pretty short. Would you agree? Who else you got besides Trent Williams? Is the list Trent Williams?
In the last how long?
Couple of decades.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best player we've had in a long time.
Is anybody else going to get close to sniffing the Hall of Fame from the Redskins?
No, because Ryan Kerrigan has been really good for us for a long time, and he's been just a staple, and he's never missed a game. But he's not a Hall of Famer. I mean, I don't think he's up there high enough in any of the all-time stats. So, no, he's literally the only one. Trent's the only one that you could say was the best at his position when we were, I don't know, since I've been alive, basically.
I didn't mean to bring you down like that, Patrick. Let's go through some more NFL news and notes. You mentioned it wasn't the biggest surprise about Trent Williams, this news coming out. I guess it was early this morning. What was the biggest surprise of yesterday? Was it the Andy Dalton deal with the Chicago Bears? Was it that the Bears got actually close to getting Russell Wilson? Allegedly, what's the deal there? And Jen certainly wants to know as it pertains to her Bears.
Well, Andy Dalton, I don't think Bears fans are probably overly surprised. I think Bears fans know not to get their hopes up that they're going to have a good quarterback because they pretty much never have. So I think they were really hoping and crossing their fingers that a Russell Wilson trade could happen, but I don't think anyone truly in their heart of hearts thought that it was going to. And Andy Dalton is just kind of a slap in the face to Bears fans. I mean, you just had Nick Foles. You just traded for Nick Foles' $22 million a year contract, and then you gave $10 million to Andy Dalton. And who's even better? Like, you got rid of Mitch Trubisky, and did you get better? I don't know. Probably not. Probably not substantially. Bears fans, they're in a tough place this morning.
Another move in the NFL yesterday is Emmanuel Sanders going to the Buffalo Bills for just a one-year deal. What do you make of that news?
Just the Bills, like their wide receiving core was really good last year. They had to cut John Brown, who was their speedster. Emmanuel Sanders isn't really that. He's a route runner that kind of dominates the intermediate levels of the field. He was pretty good for the Saints after a torn Achilles. Then he came back and was really good for the 49ers in their Super Bowl run. Wasn't as good for the Saints last year, but I think that was because of the quarterback play in New Orleans, not because of him. So it's just another weapon there. Their receiving core is really good with Cole Beasley dominating underneath and Stephon Diggs winning at all three levels. By far the most fascinating thing is what the Patriots are going to be doing now. They signed Hunter Henry to a 3-year deal, ton of guaranteed money. I think it was a $37 million deal, $20 million guaranteed. So with him and Jonnu Smith now, everyone's just throwing it back to the Gronk and Aaron Hernandez days. And that's going to be really interesting because that's kind of what Bill Belichick's MO has always been. He believes in building your team to dominate the middle of the field, and having two tight ends. His idea, Josh McDaniels' idea, you can hear them talk about it, where they say you have to make the defense declare how they're going to defend you. So when you come out with 12 personnel with two tight ends, they have to decide, are we going to run our base or are we going to go nickel and put an extra defensive back on the field? And if you decide that we're going to run our base defense, that means your tight ends have to be covered with a linebacker. So we're going to throw it and we're going to gash you with them because you can't cover our two tight ends. And if you decide to go nickel, well, then we're just going to run the ball down your throat because you have extra DBs and we can block you and we've got a hat on a hat. And not only that, but now the Patriots have a running quarterback, the likes of which they've never had. So it's just, they're going to be really, really hard to defend. It's going to be really interesting. Cam Newton is always better in the middle of the field instead of pushing the ball outside the numbers. He's always been better there. So the Patriots are going to have two tight ends. They're going to have Julian Edelman. I think Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Aguilar are kind of meh signings. I don't think they really do anything for them, but Aguilar's got speed. So if anything, you devote too much attention to the middle of the field, and Cam Newton's still capable of pushing the ball down the field and potentially finding Aguilar for some really easy, open, deep shots. I'm fascinated how that's going to work. If Cam Newton plays 10% better than he did last year, the Patriots could be a 10-win playoff team. I mean, the way we're talking about Cam and the Patriots, it's like they won 2 games last year. They were a 7-win team, and they were close to being better. So they're so interesting.
Well, the way some people are talking about it is that they're not even convinced that Cam Newton is going to be the quarterback and that they have a possibility of going after Deshaun Watson. What do you read into that, Patrick?
I don't know I don't think they have a possibility of going after Deshaun. I mean, if they do, there should be almost investigations, because there's no way the Patriots are giving the best option for Deshaun Watson. And Nick Caserio is the GM for the Texans, who just came from New England. Jack Easterby has long ties with Belichick in New England. If they end up shipping Deshaun Watson to New England, when you know for a fact that other teams are going to be offering 3-4 first-round picks, the Jets have number 2 and the Dolphins have number 3. Like, if the Patriots sitting there at number 15 end up getting Deshaun Watson, I mean, I'll be shouting collusion.
You won't be the only one. I know that. Jess just hit us up and said, any chance that the Panthers are going to get the Deshaun Watson in this thing? Been dragging on and on. The news yesterday, I think what Trey was pointing this out on the live chat there about Tyrod Taylor signing with the Houston Texans, a sign at least that they have a backup plan now without Deshaun Watson. And the larger headline involving Deshaun Watson this morning is that there have been sexual harassment charges filed against him. The quote I saw was, went too far with a massage, and Deshaun Watson has come out ahead of this thing and said, no, this is a case of somebody trying to get a 6-figure settlement out of me. I did nothing wrong. I've never done anything but treat women with the utmost respect. So it's a bit of a mess there. Someone asked earlier how this might affect the trade situation, and you don't seem to think it will have much effect, if any, at this point, correct?
No, because, I mean, Deshaun's not going to – the only thing that would matter is if Deshaun decides, you know what, I am gonna be a Texan. But there's no way Deshaun's gonna play for them. They don't have a choice to move him no matter what. So, I mean, maybe it could result in people pulling their names out of the race to trade for Deshaun Watson, and he decides I'm gonna sit out. But I think there's a pretty decent chance that he's just gonna sit out training camp anyway at this point. So Tyrod Taylor is a little bit of insurance. At this point, they should trade for Tua Tagovailoa, because now that they've got Tyrod Taylor, that pretty much guarantees that Tagovailoa is going to be a stud. You just put Tyrod Taylor as the starter, like he's done the last 3 years, and then Baker Mayfield comes out of nowhere, becomes a franchise quarterback. Tyrod Taylor was a starter in LA last year, and then Justin Herbert becomes a franchise quarterback. Just trade for Tua, bench him for Tyrod Taylor, give Tyrod Taylor the first 2 weeks, and then Tua will come out and play like a franchise quarterback, and bada bing, bada boom, you're good to go.
Well, how about that?
Got it all figured out. I should be an NFL GM.
David hits us up to make your head grow even larger. OMG, Patrick is growing up right in front of us. This is who Patrick is, right, Bill? You just give him one NFL nugget, and there he goes.
Yeah, it was. I was listening a little bit there. The Emmanuel Sanders thing, I like with the Bills. Gives them another little option there as they try and compete in that division. That's gonna be a fun little division there with the Bills and the Patriots and whatever the Dolphins end up doing at quarterback.
I hope the Dolphins end up getting Deshaun, because that really will be a really fun division. Dual threat quarterbacks everywhere, elite quarterbacks everywhere. The Patriots are, I think, closer than people expect now. The Bills, I like their receiving core better with John Brown, because there's just a different option. Like I like the concept of building your team like a basketball, building your receiving core like a basketball team with all sorts of different traits, and that's exactly what they were with John Brown. Now they don't have a true deep threat. I would love to see them just draft somebody now and have Emmanuel Sanders there to be the crisp route runner, and you get some like speedster, like a, I don't know, Kadarius Toney or a Rondale Moore or something like that, and get yourself a bona fide deep threat.
It's not since the 80s when I was growing up. There's some great Monday Night Football battles between the Jets and Dolphins, and it's Ken O'Brien and Dan Marino. You saw the Patriots sneak into a Super Bowl one year, and it would be a long time coming to make that division like it is. Rex Ryan made it relatively entertaining, I guess, with the Bills and the Patriots, but in a different kind of way. It would be on a different.
He went to
level.
an AFC Championship with the Jets.
Yeah, but an AFC Championship game, right? Didn't win. Didn't win it back then. I hear you, but it just has not been the same as the Patriots have dominated that thing for the last couple of decades, and they're setting themselves up. The best thing I saw on social media yesterday was a picture of Bill Belichick with a teacup in his hand. It said Boston Tea Party, with the T being spelled T-E, as in tight ends. And you get those two guys, and you know what he's done with big-time tight ends in the past. You got to feel like it is setting up. I know we got another text in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line from Chris, talking about it being a setup for the Patriots and Buccaneers to be a showdown in the Super Bowl, and the NFL's rigged and the whole deal. Yeah, okay, I understand. We're in March. We're a ways away. A lot of creativity out
Interestingly, Josh McDaniels was in when Gronk was drafted, and him and Aaron Hernandez were there together. McDaniels was in Denver still as the head coach, and he only got 1 year with Gronk and Hernandez together. And the receiving core was pretty bad that year. I think Brandon Lloyd was like their number one, and they had a young Wes Welker who caught 100 balls, I think, that year. But I mean, they were potent. They were scoring 35 points a game. Brady put up 34 touchdowns. I mean, McDaniels hasn't had – this is how he likes to build his offenses too, and he hasn't really had the chance to do that yet. He got a quick taste of it with Gronk and Hernandez, but this is going to be the best group he's had since then.
Have you put out your tweet this morning? Have you put out your tweet?
No, I'll get it out.
Wow.
Attaboy, Bill. Way to make sure keep him on task there. How many days left until the NFL draft? What are you down to, 43?
43.
All right. Patrick's fired up. He'll keep it going on the live video stream here during the break. Ask whatever question you want to. We see some Washington football team questions there, some Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers questions. I'll give you some details about a rough night for a bunch of top college baseball teams last night. That's when we come back. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game. Let's see what Bill's doing here.
Oh, big St. Patrick's. They got the kids to school. One of them was wearing green, one of them was not. So that made me happy. Kind of like when I write that monthly mortgage payment and realize, having used the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder, I saved money going through him. He knows what he's doing. He was able to give me a great interest rate. He will do the same for you. Give him a call this morning, 803-719-1005. Interest rates are still low, but they may not be staying that way, so you've got to act quickly. Don't wait around. Give the mortgage guru a call today and start the process, 803-719-1005. You can email Jacob Crowder at the letter J, Crowder, CROWDER, at firstpalmetto.com is the way to do that. Jacob's helped people save $300, $400, even $500 on their monthly mortgage payment when they refinance, or if they're looking to purchase a new home. He's been able to help them with that as well. You can be one of those people and save that money, be just as happy as I was this morning. 803-719-1005. He's the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder, with First Palmetto Bank.
Just see it next. Thanks for responding there.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh, it is a beautiful Irish morning out there.
All right. Are the Skins looking to sign another QB? I think so. There was rumors that they were still in the Darnold mix, but that seems far-fetched now. But if a quarterback falls to 19 in the draft, I don't think they'll hesitate to take one.
Mac Jones?
Yeah. I don't see why it would be Rodgers last year in Green Bay either, Waddy. I don't see any reason for that.
Mac Jones at 19?
I don't think he'll be there. Teams are seeming to fall in love with him now. I don't know how crazy I am about Mac Jones either. I wouldn't necessarily want to spend a first-round pick on him.
What about who asked about Aaron Rodgers? Somebody asked about
I don't know why it would be. I don't see that as the case. His last year, I don't think it'll be his last year in Green Bay.
Waddy.
I mean, he's still under contract unless they trade him. Unless he really throws a fit and forces a trade, but I don't think he's going to do that.
What are they going to do, Jordan Love?
Well, Jordan Love was their third string and didn't even suit up last year, so they're not going to ship Aaron Rodgers away if Jordan Love isn't any good.
Another example of the draft being ridiculous.
Well, quarterback is the hardest position to draft. That's why they should have.
Why?
They traded up to go get him too. They should have just stayed where they were. I mean, it was dumb. It was really idiotic what they did.
I'm surprised you're not. I just looked as we were talking, as Tim brought up Monday night football games. I just looked to see, if anybody's put out when a schedule release might happen. It looks like they're anticipating April 15th or the 22nd. I thought you'd be counting down to the potential of that as well. Schedule release. That's when you get excited. see the actual games, see what the Monday night games are.
Yeah, but I can't go to the games anyway, so I don't really care that much. I care more about the college football schedule getting released because I can actually go. And our opponents are out. I know who we're going to play. I know where we're going to play them. So, okay. I mean, I'll watch it and I'll be excited to see it and kind of map out how the season's going to go. We've had that discussion.
Mark, don't believe the hype. We've gotten texts about that as well. Gamecock Larry was as strong as we've heard him in a while this morning. He called us. He's back home. He's doing all right.
He seemed to be okay. He got prescribed more 107.5 the game.
9 or 10 hours a day. He's good to go. And he said to watch out Legion of Doom and any other fans of anybody else than the Gamecocks. He's on the prowl, resting up until football season. Then watch out.
Boy, I tell you what, it is calling for some really severe storms tomorrow.
Are you going to get in baseball tonight?
I'm just looking at the hourly. They're going to have to play in rain. It looks like more rain's coming in tonight. It looks like it's going to be kind of overcast throughout the day, and then about 5 o'clock it kind of picks up.
That's not good. 7 o'clock game time.
30 jumps to 40% at 5 o'clock. But at least it's supposed to be low 60s. So.
All right.
It was brutal last night.
Yeah, for sure.
I had my curtains closed, but I could still see the lightning. I could hear the thunder.
Yeah, it was really loud. It's kind of scary being in a metal truck and all you hear is like super loud thunder and crashing rain. I assumed nothing would happen if lightning struck it, but still a little.
I'm supposed to do the SEC Network Plus again tonight. We'll see. Get that in.
Oh, all right.
You guys, feel free to throw in your phrases to work in on tonight's broadcast. I'm all for it.
What time is that game? What time?
7.
7? Oh, a late game. Someone could be dragging a little bit tomorrow.
I'll be all right. It'll be Friday morning. That'll probably get me.
Yeah, but Friday we should have energy for the NCAA tournament. We'll have some games tomorrow night.
It's true. Davidson.
Reminder, just scheduling note. I'll jet out of here at 8 o'clock tomorrow to head to the hospital with the father. You have to just survive the 8 o'clock hour. Go be a good son. Everybody knows I'm a great son.
Yeah, so I think we'll have Kerry Tharp in that 8 o'clock hour too, right? So leave us a pick for sure.
Yeah, I'll leave you a pick. I don't want Jen making the pick for me.
No, leave the pick with Patrick. Can't let Jen know. And I'll rat you out. So Patrick's the only one you can trust on this show.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying I got to be careful. If Jen made the pick for me, I'd finish 4th. And she'd probably try to get a winner. I'm guessing we got next to no time coming back.
Yeah, looks that way.
All right, we're heading back in. Don't have a whole bunch of time.
Yeah. I've been around some radio. Figured that one out.
And then, Bill, after we get out of this, maybe we can cut that spot real quick.
Okay.
What a pro.
Yeah, something like that. All right, guys, are up.
6:45 airtime tonight for Gamecock baseball. Davidson coming off a weekend sweep at the Citadel. The Gamecocks weekend sweep on the wrong side at the Citadel. The Gamecocks on the similar side with Texas looking to bounce back tonight. Tough night for last night. A bunch of top-ranked college baseball teams going down, including number 1 Arkansas losing 8-5 to Oklahoma. Number 4 Ole Miss thumped at Louisiana Tech 13-1. Florida also whipped pretty good. They're number 5 in the country. Florida State thumping them 10-2. Oklahoma State loses to Louisiana Monroe. They're ranked 14th in the country. The Cowboys are 13-6, that final score. And Virginia Tech, another ranked team, losing to UNC Greensboro last night. Actually, number 8 Louisville as well, losing to Eastern Kentucky. So midweek baseball strikes across the country last night. The Gamecocks will be looking to kind of reverse that trend and get back on the winning track tonight. What do you guys want to get into as we roll into hour number 3? What are you thinking?
We haven't gotten into the NCAA tournament. Tomorrow, the first 4 get underway. Get into that a little bit.
Who knows? Who knows what we're going to get into? It's the early game here on 107.5.
Clear.
Oh, it's a great idea from Courtney. Courtney, what kind of phrases are we going to talk? What are we looking for? We got to make it creative.
I'm trying to do my bracket right now, and it's difficult.
Yeah, I gotta finish mine.
How about, so I don't even know if I know 5 St. Patty's Day phrases. I didn't even know the Cheers phrase that Jen's got as her screen name here. So I got top of the morning. Got Lucky Charms. Is Lucky Charm a phrase? It's like you hit it with a shillelagh. Is that what you're saying, Waddy? Is that how you pronounce that word? I'm not confident in that.
Jen, let me know when you're ready.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to drop you guys from the live stream. You stink. You're doing work.
Yep.
Just me and Patrick, who's thoroughly bored with me at this point, 2 hours in, just going in your NFL news nerd notes right now. What are you looking at? NFLnerd.com?
No, I'm trying to fill out the bracket.
Oh, bracket, gotcha.
I'm stumped.
Isn't Bangers and Mash? That's a British thing, isn't it, Patrick?
Yeah.
It's a good
I
try.
guess mostly they're the same, probably.
Let's see. The hits are sparse tonight, almost like you don't want to get a potato famine joke in. I don't think you want to put that reference in there. Must have a 4-leaf clover. Okay, how about 4-leaf clover for sure? Lucky Charms. Oh, I can work in Magically Delicious, right? I can do that one.
Yeah.
See, I got nothing for that, Trey. My Irish knowledge is weak. Weak. And Jesse, I don't know if that pertains to – it's not National Pancake Day as well as St. Patty's Day, is it?
It's probably National Pancake Day, honestly. It's always National Something Day.
Good call, Trey. Yeah, we'll stay away from the Catholics versus the Protestants tonight. Let's see. So I got Magically Delicious, Over the Rainbow, Danny Boy, if there's a Daniel involved in the game. Oh, what do you think? Can we refer to long hair as cabbage? I've always heard of lettuce or salad. Can we do it as cabbage as well, or no? Is that just a large head? U2 is Irish. Maybe I can get in some sort of U2 reference.
Trying to think of like what song reference would work. Trying to avoid Sunday Bloody Sunday.
Yeah, you don't want to go with that one. No, Waddy. No, I'm not even popping that one up. That's just not what we're going with at all. How dare you? I would have put my money on you going over the line. Oh, now Bill has to be added to the stream. He's being left out.
Well, I was thinking we gotta come up with characters. So like
Characters.
Yeah, I think you gotta throw names in. So like
Oh.
for like Kill the Irishman was I was trying to the true story of Danny Green.
Uh-huh.
Patrick, you've seen that. We talked about that a few weeks ago, Danny Green.
Yep.
I was gonna hold the direction with names. Okay.
Let's see.
Now, something with a leprechaun, obviously. Yeah. So I got 4-leaf clover, leprechaun, Magically Delicious or Lucky Charms-ish.
So I played, and on the way to school, the kids now are old enough. They both have their own headphones, so they weren't listening. But I played this to start the drive.
Whiskey in the jar.
Yeah.
Never even heard that. What's that?
You've heard it.
Well,
It is Retrick. Yes, for the baseball game tonight. The SEC Network Plus broadcast. That's enough. That's enough. This is on the same broadcast that I said we can't put music on. No, I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah.
See, all Irish music sounds the same to me.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good Irish music today.
I have no idea what that means, Trey. It's probably not a Notre Dame reference. We got to do better than that, Jesse.
Yeah.
No idea what that means.
You see this is an old hat that I've had. My Lucky Charms.
Oh, that's cool.
River dance. Okay, I think maybe we can work in a river dance. The footwork there around on defense. Maybe I can do that. Probably working an O'Shea's reference. You guys ever been to O'Shea's in Vegas? My favorite place in Vegas. Great spot. I think it's not there anymore, actually. Nothing like day gambling and O'Shea's in Vegas.
O'Shea's in Vegas. God, I think I might have been there 20 years ago.
20 years ago? Couldn't even gamble when you 20 years ago.
Well, I was just thinking it was a long time ago. It was one of the first times I ever went. So I guess it had to be 17. I was 21, maybe. It was during a World Cup. I remember that because we would wake up and go downstairs. So I don't know where that maxes out at, but we would wake up. We'd have to wake up at 6:30 or 7 to get downstairs to bet on the game, and we would get breakfast, watch it, and then go back to bed. Huh?
02, he's still not old enough to gamble, right?
Say what?
02, 06, I don't know.
Must have been 06, right?
I guess had to be 02. Let's see. It might have been. My birthday's in May.
Yeah.
So it might have been 02. It might. I don't think
19 years ago, Bill. You're only going to be 39.
Yeah. So I guess 06. Good guy. It feels like longer than that. I mean, it was. But I mean, that's still 15 years ago.
I was seasick on a Carnival cruise watching the World Cup in 2006.
Oh, that's
tough.
Where was the cruise to?
It was a couple places. I got seasick for like a day. We went to like Cozumel, Nassau. I was good for all the excursions, but I did get seasick one day.
Does Brian Glenn? I mean, Village Idiot isn't really an Irish. It's not an Irish. But I wonder if he's got anything going on today. Proper. Oh, I got some Conor McGregor.
Yeah, have you had it?
Hey, he's got some stuff.
How is it?
You gotta get yourself a bottle of it. It's pretty good. I mean,
I went yesterday. I had to restock the liquor cabinet. I haven't been in a while, so I bought Crown Apple, Crown Peach. I bought a bunch of fruity stuff.
It's not Irish.
No, I know. Well, I've got whiskey. I've got the heavy stuff. Like, I just needed to like have stuff for like on the weekends that I like to drink kind of earlier. I can't go straight to the bourbon and water at like 1 o'clock. That doesn't lead to good things.
No, but you do Irish cream. I brought the Irish cream up too.
Neither does
Oh,
anything.
there you go.
I'll get a Guinness in the next break.
All right, we're heading back in.
All right, let's get down to business.
NCAA tournament. The UNLV job opening is interesting for Frank Martin, given that there's been connections before. I haven't tried the Crown Peach and apple juice. I might do that this weekend. Something kind of early to gear up for the NCAA tournament, the noon start time. I got nothing on Saturday. I'm going to get a bunch of food, have some buffalo chicken dip.
All right, you guys are up.
Iowa, Michigan, Arkansas, and Illinois, Sammy says. Hogs over Hawkeyes as they play one
Look at
shining
that.
moment. Arkansas is going to win the national championship, according to Sammy, and there are going to be 3 Big Ten teams in the Final Four. Wow.
He's got the wrong 3 Big Ten teams.
Oh, you got 3 Big Ten teams too, but not those
No,
3?
no. If there are 3, it's not going to be those 3.
Oh, well, I thought you said you didn't have Illinois in it. I thought you had Illinois in it.
No, I do have Illinois in it, but I don't think Iowa's going to make it.
Okay, so
Iowa
one.
can't beat Gonzaga.
I don't disagree with that.
Good. Like,
But BYU almost beat Gonzaga the other night. They're not. Let's not
kind of.
pretend like they're unbeatable.
They're entitled to one
They have
bad
been
game.
unbeatable this year.
I'm with it. I've still got the only one. I like the Michigan bracket in the East. You guys, Patrick was against me on that one. You were.
I just think there can't be more than anything over 3 1s. I get really nervous. There's not. How often does 4 1s happen? Hardly ever.
It's
right?
just no.
I think
I
it
agree
happened
with
for
you.
the first time like the last couple of years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that was the first
normally I'm
time.
with you. What I do think is that this is, well, I don't think this, we all agree with it being a bubble tournament. It's going to be a wildly unique tournament that I actually think favors the better teams. And to me, that is definitely Illinois and Gonzaga. The way the Brad Underwood's team is playing right now, I think you put them up there. Baylor has shown to be that throughout the year. That's 3 1s. I'm with Patrick. The injury to Livers is really, really big. But I look at that bracket they're in, man, and I'm not buying the strength of that bracket. I think they can get out of there based on some matchups, based on how that thing kind of rolls through there. If you get one upset, maybe 2. I mean, let me ask this: in the East, that's Michigan's the 1 seed, Alabama's the 2, Texas is the 3, Florida State's the 4. So that's your top 4. Then you've got your 5 seed is Colorado. Your 6 is BYU. Like, if you put odds on it, outside of Michigan, who's got the next best chance to get to the Final Four out of that East bracket?
I'm picking Florida State to get out.
Do you? Are you?
Whoa.
Okay.
That'd be a heck of a run. So you guys know the 2 seed there, Alabama, 3 seed Texas, and Florida State's the 4 seed. Colorado's the 5 seed. I think this is where you can get a really interesting. I mean, Michigan State's the 11 seed. I think you could have them running all the way to the Final Four. You could also have them out before they even get into the field of 64. Right? You still got to beat UCLA tomorrow night.
UConn could get out they've got Maryland UConn's going to be a really good 7-10 game, but I mean UConn can always get hot. James Bonite might be the best player in that single player in that region. So if they get hot, I mean they can definitely rattle off a nice little run.
All right, let me give you guys some numbers here. You're talking about number 1 seeds. Only happened one time, all 4 of them. Chalk, 2008. There's also been a time that 0 number 1 seeds have gotten into the Final Four. That was in 2011. Typically, most frequently, only 1 number 1 seed gets into the Final Four. That's happened 15 times.
Wow.
The other play is 2 number 1 seeds. That's happened 13 times. So typically it's 1 or 2 number 1 seeds. I guess it's also happened another time. So it's happened twice that no number 1 seeds have gotten in the Final Four. It's only happened once that all 4 number 1 seeds have gotten there. 4 times in NCAA tournament history where you had 3 number 1 seeds. So you got a 43% chance that you're going to have just 1 number 1 seed in the Final Four, a 37% chance that you're going to have 2 number 1 seeds in your Final Four. Interesting stuff there.
It would seem that Illinois has the hardest road, but they're also the second best team. Baylor, I can't see Baylor making it. They have a little bit of a brutal run too. I don't know.
So
it's hard.
In that second round game for Baylor, it would be the winner of North Carolina, Wisconsin, and then you're likely to get Purdue or Villanova. I know a lot of people have Winthrop knocking off Villanova in that 12-5 game. So that would be the Sweet 16 matchup for Baylor. And then the 2 seed in their bracket, the 2 or 3 seed. Number 2 seed is Ohio State. 3 seed is Arkansas. There, that Sammy was.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but Purdue could feasibly play a home game, right? Are they going to keep Purdue out of their arena?
Yeah, I'm sure that's part of the stipulations with this thing. I would imagine that would be extremely unfair, you would think. because they're playing in so many different arenas, I wouldn't think it would be that hard to make sure that happens in Indiana. But it most unique NCAA tournament by far any of us have ever seen. So my question then is, in this really unique year of college basketball, where we've seen Gonzaga run through perfect, and we've seen the Big Ten kind of dominate, and they got 2 of the 4 number 1 seeds in Michigan and Illinois. Do we see the teams at the top rise and kind of make this more chalk, or do we see just madness and mayhem and all kind of upsets all over the place? Which one, if you have those 2 options, which one are you guys guessing? More chalk or more upsets?
I'm leaning more chalk. I think if they're allowed to play the games, if things don't go sideways off the court, you start getting positive tests and teams losing players because of quarantine. I mean, that's the other thing about this. One player goes down on a team. How many more, because of contact tracing, end up sidelined for a weekend? It's kind of like, the women's on the women's side, Gino Auriemma is out this weekend. I don't think that's going to matter. UConn's probably the best team, and UConn and Stanford are the best 2 teams on that women's tournament, so it's not going to really affect UConn. But the bottom line is, like, you go back to the men's tournament, one player on one team comes down with a positive test, and all of a sudden you've got contact tracing. Do y'all know how they're doing the hotel rooms? Is each player, this seems excessive, but I would imagine this is how you have to do it. Does each player have his own hotel room?
Yeah, and I think essentially each team has their own floor, and they can't leave their floor. There's been a lot of complaints about the meals, and they look kind of brutal, and it's actually been pretty contentious on Twitter with players having nothing to do, so they're tweeting back at people because the amenities are not very good, especially compared to, like, the professional bubbles, and then people telling them just shut up and play, basically, and they're like, well, listen, we don't get paid for this. We're stuck in a room, not eating good food. We have no control of it. We can't order our own food. Like,
you know what they need to do? Send Jimmy Butler up there with Big Face Coffee for $30 a cup.
They can't afford it. Exactly.
Let them learn that lesson. All right, you want it? Yeah, that's fine.
Well, that's dope, because the NBA players, the food that they were given in the bubble was bad, apparently, so they just all bought their own food, and it was no big deal. They just spent thousands of dollars while they were there on food, and the college players can't do that. So I don't know. That's why, thinking about that aspect of it, I saw a quote that said, I hope some of these players don't decide to just lose, or don't give it their all because they just want to go home and get out of the bubble. Like, I don't think any competitors thinking that way. But when you talk about chalk versus underdogs, maybe there's something to the underdogs. Like, this is what they've been waiting for all year. This is a bigger moment for them. It's a bigger deal. They'll come out more fired up and ready to play. But then I also think that when you have tournament games where it's kind of a neutral crowd in a lot of ways, they seem to back the underdog. So when a lower seeded team starts getting some momentum, the crowd really shifts in their favor, and not having that there could kind of hurt them too.
Yeah, that makes me kind of lean towards Bill and go more chalk this year. I think when we've seen these things in the last few years where you feel like there's a bunch of parity in college basketball, typically I think the higher seeded team has won out. Waddy hits us up. Facebook live stream. Speaking of the NCAA tourney, he says, today's the 4-year anniversary of the beginning of the Gamecock Final Four run, beating Marquette. And to me, it's almost hard to believe. That was just 4 years ago in a lot of ways. We've been talking about it a lot the last several days, and where things will go with Frank Martin and the Gamecock basketball program. Bill, you think the news yesterday of the UNLV job opening up might have some sort of impact on Gamecock basketball?
Yeah, given that we know in the past there was a little bit of a courtship between UNLV and Frank Martin, and I think that was different times then, when South Carolina or Frank Martin might not be looking to get out. Now that job's back open, I think you got to wonder, is UNLV has a little bit more of leverage in this time where that money might not matter quite as much as it did last time, where Frank Martin knows he might need to be getting out. And I'll be kind of interested to see if that's something that UNLV brass push for this particular time, given that Frank Martin might be a little bit more obtainable.
Again, no news coming out yet from the kind of the summary or the conclusion of the Ray Tanner meeting with Frank Martin recently, and you've seen another job pop open, several other jobs across the country pop open. So the UNLV job is open because the Iowa State job was open, right? The UNLV coach jumps to Iowa State. DePaul, another job that has popped open. Dave Lato in his second turnaround there at DePaul after not working out at Virginia, hasn't worked out at DePaul. So that's another open job out there on the college basketball coaching carousel to keep an eye on. Do you guys think things would be different how do you think they would be different, I guess? Remember, Marquette was firmly in control of that first-round game against the Gamecocks. A double-digit lead at one point, and then Carolina turns it on, and the magic happened for Frank Martin and company all the way to the Final Four. Bill, how do you think it might have been different had Carolina just gone to the tournament and not won?
Real quick, just on that UNLV thing, just to be clear, the guy's name, I'm going to need one of you guys' help. The UNLV coach, Otzelberger, I believe is how you say it, is not, just so we can be clear this morning, is not taking the Iowa State job. There was a lot of reports last night that he will be leaving, but just so we can be clear with Frank Martin, I don't want to say that that guy's taking the job, but there is a lot of speculation that news could happen today or tomorrow for UNLV. But as of 8:16 here on Wednesday morning, it's not official. But
Las Vegas Review-Journal at 7:01 yesterday actually said, according to multiple people with knowledge of the situation, that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not official. Let's just be clear about that, just from a South Carolina and Frank Martin standpoint. I think there would be a lot more grumbling. I'll say this: what separates for me a Frank Martin tenure, an Eddie Fogler tenure, a Dave Odom tenure is the Final Four run. You know, Eddie Fogler had the best season of any basketball season I've ever seen. 15-1 in the SEC. It was incredible.
Right?
No, I meant the best individual season. Watch. I never forget. There's a lot of people, I think our age, Tim, back then that watched South Carolina beat Kentucky at Carolina Coliseum. The first time that night, it went to overtime. I'll never forget Kansas. I stayed up watching it with my dad in our living room. It was an incredible moment because Kentucky was the monstrous power back then with Pitino, I think, was coaching, right? That was Pitino coaching. And they were Ron Mercer was on that team. And they were just Kentucky, it felt like then was peak Kentucky in the mid-'90s. And sitting up, it was a Tuesday night. Kansas that night, I think Kentucky was top 4, top 5. Kansas was top 4, top 5. I still remember Missouri was playing Kansas that night at the same time South Carolina was playing Kentucky, and Missouri knocked off Kansas in Columbia, Missouri. And I remember the announcers were kind of going back and forth between Columbia, South Carolina, and Columbia, Missouri, because you had the two big upsets happening. But that was an incredible night. And then fast forward to winning at Senior Day, something that the record was ridiculous. Winning at Rump Arena 72-66 on Senior Day with Melvin Watson and Larry Davis and B.J. Mackey and that team. Like, that season was, as far as seasons go, top of the line. But then you lose to Georgia, you get pummeled by Georgia in the SEC tournament, and then obviously you lose to Coppin State in the opening round, and it lost a ton of its luster. I mean, it just such a dud of a finish. South Carolina with Frank Martin though gets in, and you have the most, magical 3 weekends that you ever have with beating Marquette, and I watching that happen, thinking, wow, South Carolina actually gets to play another game in the NCAA tournament. Oh, they got to play Duke, and Duke had Grayson Allen and Tatum, and who else they have? Patrick, you remember who else was on that Duke team that I can't quite put all? Was it Kennard? Ballparking some guys, I don't know. But the bottom line is that run separates Frank Martin from any other tenure post Frank McGuire. And if it's not for that run, I think people are a lot more. They're not willing to give a 10th year. That's the saving grace right now.
What about the idea too, though, that a lot of people are grizzled that nothing changed after the Final Four run? Maybe it's a more apt discussion this morning if Carolina wins 1 or 2 games, right? Goes to Sweet 16, as opposed to going to the Final Four, because the Final Four just carries so much cachet in all sports. And I think it's completely logical to think your program's going to change after going to a Final Four. I don't think it is logical to think your program's going to change after going to the Sweet 16. Does that make sense, Bill? And I think that the expectation from a lot of Gamecock fans was, hey, all right, here we go. This is going to be it, and things are going to be much different. And that just hasn't been the case in a lot of areas. I know you've talked about how the recruiting has improved, in your opinion, in the last few years, and there was a bit of a bump. But do you understand what I'm saying here? Had things
I understand why people
slightly
think that, but I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly that one Final Four run changes anybody's program. It's just it's not true. One Final Four run doesn't change anybody's program. That happens over time, and it happens
Oh my God.
through a Final Four run. A change in a program happens through what everybody's upset about, and that's continuous NCAA tournament appearances, not one great month. Like, your program doesn't change overnight. Recruits don't go, oh, that program went to the Final Four, I got to go there now. That's not how it. Look, we've seen programs, VCU, George Mason. Look at Butler, and I'm not picking on Jim. Look at Butler. Butler's tended
those two teams.
Not really.
George
For
Mason
South
was a
Carolina
one and
basketball.
done. Shaka Smart built VCU into a consistent tournament team, and they were a highly seeded every year.
And
Really
Shaka
nice.
Smart did nothing. Jeff Capel started it. That VCU was a much better program before the one and done run. Shaka Smart built off of everything
George
Jeff
Mason
Capel
was a
did.
one and done.
Okay, and what that's
VCU wasn't. They were consistently good and highly seeded.
what about Wichita State?
Is a good program now. I don't know the history of Wichita State, but they're a solid program.
I mean, they were also better, but Wichita State was also historically a better program than South Carolina. And you can make the case, just like you said, VCU has been a historically better program for the better part of 15 years than South Carolina. And so you would tell me that one run altered the course of them and made them that much better. And it didn't happen. I mean, those programs are still about where they were when they made that run. One Final Four run doesn't change. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Auburn. I know they were on probation this year, and that's why they didn't go to the NCAA tournament. But technically, Auburn went to the Final Four 2 years ago. It's crazy to think that we haven't had a Final Four. That the last national championship game, you guys know off the top of your head what the last national championship game is.
Ooh,
The two teams
top
that played
of
the
my
last.
head.
Virginia, Purdue.
No.
No, that was an Elite Eight game, I think.
Wait,
National championship game.
Texas Tech, Virginia. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that got brought up yesterday, and I was thinking about it. I was like, wow, that is crazy. That was the last. That's your current reigning national champion is Virginia. It feels like forever ago. But I only say that because Auburn was in that Final Four. Now Auburn's on probation. That's why one of the reasons they didn't go, obviously, to the SEC. Well, that's the reason they didn't go to the SEC tournament this year. So I just think that's incorrect. That one Final Four run changes your basketball program. That's all.
What was Texas Tech before?
Bob Knight.
Texas Tech had been, huh?
They were
Genuinely
Bob
asking.
Knight
I'm not
for
trying
the
to make a point. I
Final
don't
Four
know
run.
basketball like that.
They were getting better. Remember, they came to Colonial Life Arena, Tim, for part of the big, and they were ranked. They were, I think, a top 15, top 18 team.
Oh, yeah.
They had been improving under Chris Beard. I mean, yeah, let's see how it changes. Auburn this year, 13-14, 7-11 in conference, so they weren't going to the NCAA tournament, even if they were eligible.
KT asked, do you think going to the Final Four is about the same as winning the SEC in football? Absolutely not is my answer. What about you guys?
I think actually for your program, I think you have to climb over so much to win the SEC. I actually think the SEC changes your program more than a Final Four run. That's a big question.
That's what I'm saying. I think just your point about mentioning Auburn going to the Final Four a couple of years ago, it's some of that is easily forgotten by if you're not involved with that program. I think there are a lot of people out there. When I was talking to the Arkansas guys on radio the other day, You're like, oh yeah, remember South Carolina went to that Final Four a few years ago? I know you might have missed that or might not remember that. I think it's easy to forget. You win the SEC in football these days, you're playing for a national championship. That's just what it is. That's a different. Obviously, if you go to the Final Four and you win your first Final Four game, you're playing for a national championship as well. But it's such a postseason run as opposed to a season of sustained success that you have to have in football. That's the difference just in the nature of it. We'll continue to discuss as we roll on this morning. Thanks to Waddy for pointing out it is 4 years ago today that the Gamecocks started that Final Four run with the win over Marquette, and Gamecock basketball in a much different place now. Again, no news still with the future of Gamecock basketball at this point. 803-404-6100. If you would like to weigh in on the program, you can call or text. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game.
Gamecock.com with my team to play of the week. The weekend ending January 7th. Team of the week.
Thought I had one. Bill, I got to be honest. I think you can have higher expectations for changing the program. I think you should try and change it, but no, I don't think South Carolina basketball will ever change. I don't think it'll ever change. South Carolina basketball is going to be bad. It'll be bad under the next coach. It'll be bad under the next coach. I think you try and change it. You keep taking chances. I think you keep taking. You hope you hit that lightning in the bottle.
So I'm gathering that Will Muschamp broke you in football, and now Frank Martin has broken you in men's basketball, Bill.
No, I've started thinking about that for South Carolina basketball for 10 or 15 years. It's Bob Ritchie will be the next coach at South Carolina. That'll be the next coach. I can go ahead and tell you that. Nobody else. These people thinking Mike Boynton's coming home. I've already talked to enough people to know he's not coming back. There's nobody like Bob Ritchie will be the next coach. I'd be shocked if Bob is not the coach next year, actually.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Either he or Frank Martin. One of the two. One of those two guys will coach next year.
At the end of this break, we need to get that Buford lending in.
Sorry, Jen. Gotcha, Buford. What do you need here, Jen?
Say what?
I didn't quite hear you.
At the end of this break, Buford lending.
Yeah, sorry if I missed that. My bad.
Yeah.
I hear you, Ty.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
So, Patrick, you missed that Bill thinks Gamecock basketball will always be bad, and Bob Ritchie will be the next coach of Carolina basketball for sure.
But he won't make it good.
Apparently not.
Bob's a good friend of mine. I'll pull for him.
Let him know that he's doomed to that.
If like that cocky codger guy thinks that I'm defending Frank now, despite for the
Don't
last.
even talk about that. Cocky Codger's been just a wet blanket all morning. Cocky Codger can just shut up, basically.
I mean, if he
If
thinks
you're going to make today a yawner, at least talk about women's basketball.
Oh my God.
It's a tough morning for everybody right now.
what happened there?
Not me. I got the Guinness.
He got the Guinness. I don't have any Bailey. How would it taste? I'm sure people have done this. If you put the Irish whiskey and just black coffee, is that what people typically do? Is that?
Yeah.
Jen, anything we can help you with there?
You better keep me from throwing this
Phone?
computer out the window.
Tim, I think we need another week.
What?
We need another week recap, like Tim did the highlights the first week, and that one's got to be on there.
Jesse, Jason, Chris, we're all concerned, Jen. We're just asking
Sorry,
if you're
I
okay.
forget this camera's. Yeah, I'm about to flip some furniture.
It's Jen versus computer right now, I believe, guys.
Yeah. trying to edit audio, and it just keeps rebooting. It's fantastic.
Hope is concerned. Ty is concerned.
Okay.
Body is.
Garrett, let me put on some. Would that make it better?
There you go. Bill is ordering you an Irish car bomb stat.
Yeah. Uber,
30 in the morning.
Uber Eats, get it down there.
Sorry.
Did one of y'all say that Brian Glenn is doing something today? Is there anything going on? I guess I should text him because
I thought I saw him post something. Some kind of at least pizza specials.
I wouldn't mind coming down there this afternoon. Patrick, you got to work, don't you?
You got about 30 seconds.
I work at 11.
Samuel Law Firm.
Gotcha.
I didn't know you could come meet us. Come meet us in at O'Hare's. As long as I don't have soccer practice today. Jeez, Hope, that's an unnecessary shot at men or computers or
Men.
All right, stand by.
Hey, we're going to give you a heads up about Beaufort Lending. Well, right now, we all know it's a great time to refinance or get a new mortgage. The rates are historically low. What Benji Getsy and Beaufort Lending wants you to do is just to give them a call. Just check them out, see what he can do for you. Benji's been in the business for 25 years. He is a mortgage broker. That means he has a little bit more flexibility than some other mortgage people out there who are connected to banks specifically or working for someone else. This is Benji's broker business here. He is Beaufort Lending. He and his team feel like they can get you the best deal out there, and they just want to have the conversation with you. Give them a call at 843-524-2404. What I really appreciate, Benji, is that he has a similar mindset that I do when it comes to business. It's the personal touch that will make the difference. And also, he's confident that he can help you out the most. He encourages you to call whoever you've worked with in the past, see what they can do for you, and just put his number, put his name on the list. It's Beaufort Lending. Again, Benji Getsy, 843-524-2404. Benji Getsy at Beaufort Lending. My broker, your broker, South Carolina's mortgage broker.
I don't even know what that means, Hope. What do you mean? I brag about that. I'll win the NASCAR. I'm always at the top of the NASCAR pickle.
Don't make me
Always.
come after you right now.
Huh?
Don't make me come after you right now. All right, gentlemen, you're up.
Jen will give you the first chance to summarize what just happened during the break, if you would like to, for everyone just listening right now and not watching the live video stream.
Yeah, that thing needs to go away. I've been trying to edit some audio, and for the fourth time now, my computer has just gone poof, and it just reboots itself. So, wait for it to load back up and everything. You know, when you have changes that are made to a computer system, it's just never good, in my experience.
The play-by-play recap for someone not watching was tight, pound, grunt, walk-off, I believe. Does that sound about right to you, Bill? Is that what you saw?
I saw hands go in the air.
Exasperation.
Yeah, I heard she did a good job on the live stream of not
He edited.
of keeping PG. And
I do have Irish blood, so I'm just saying, that maybe the temper a little bit.
Jen, you need an Irish car bomb stat, is what Bill M. saw after that, and a lot of concern for Jen and her
I'm
frustration.
sorry, didn't mean to make people freak out. Should have kept that to myself.
No need to apologize, Jen. No need to apologize. It's all part of the magic that is the live video stream. That's sponsored by Beaufort Lending, by the way. Appreciate you tuning in on Facebook or YouTube Live, on Twitter as well, and the station handle where you can find it at 1075 The Game. If you're just listening now, we appreciate you as well. You can text us at 803-404-6100. You can also, sorry, I'm giggling at this text. Outside of Chin, this is like preschoolers for 4K. I don't even know what that means. Is 4K the preschool thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. Talking about the NCAA tournament, Alan just hit us up. Final Fours, no major impact to programs. George Mason in 06, Memphis in 08, Butler in 2010 and 11. Oh, I mean, how can you say there's no impact? They went twice in a row. Wichita State in 2013, South Carolina in 17, Loyola Chicago in the next year, and Texas Tech in 2019. These schools are still not considered major powerhouses in basketball. I'll let Alan finish. Obviously, Texas Tech and Loyola Chicago are in this year, but no one's predicting they will go far. So I don't quite understand the point here. The point you guys are making is that if you go to a Final Four, it doesn't turn you into a perennial powerhouse. I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, there's only so much room at the top of college basketball for perennial powerhouses. I think the specific point for South Carolina basketball is not to catapult the program into Kentucky status or anything like that. It's just to get back to an NCAA tournament. That's not asking too much. Just get back to one within 5 years.
I think we're also changing our tune by saying this, because the year after, when they didn't make the tournament, the conversation was, well, actually, you're not going to get the Final Four bump until next year because the recruits and all the momentum you'd get, it actually hasn't arrived yet because the Final Four happened so late. And then when that didn't happen, it was always like, oh, the next year. And now we're a full cycle of players out of that, and no one associated with Final Four is left in the program anymore. And now we're saying that the Final Four has no impact.
And look, there's other programs outside of Texas Tech, which I think is in a really good spot, actually. Chris Beard seems to have them right there, top 20, 25.
He's being mentioned prominently for Indiana right now. They want him bad. They're talking about not letting him out of Indianapolis. Just they're going to go kidnap him, just drag him to Bloomington.
That program has been pretty consistently good now for the last several years. The other programs that were mentioned there aren't Power 5 programs. I think it's only logical to assume from a Gamecock fan's perspective, with the resources that you have in the SEC, with ponying up $3+ million for Frank Martin, that would get your program to a different level. And in Frank's defense, it has. Outside of this year, in the past 5 years, the Gamecocks winning the most SEC games that the program's ever won. The problem has been it hasn't translated into another NCAA appearance. And also, with the unique challenges from this year, we're all left wondering, I think, Bill, at this point, where this roster, even though there's not a bunch of seniors set to leave, where the roster is coming back and where's the foundation? Because that was the problem with this year, right? It's like the foundation was taken out because Frank Martin's foundation for a team and a program is to play defense and to rebound, and this team was really bad at both of those by and large.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this isn't a defense. This is both a defense of Frank Martin and not a defense. You go back and you make the Final Four run. I don't know. You know, Frank's personal thoughts, I can't speak for him, but you lose Notice, you lose Mackey, and you lose Thornwell, and you knew that was going to happen. That was expected. I don't know if there was an expectation for losing P.J. Dozier. There probably should have been. There really probably should have been. He was a McDonald's All-American. He was a 5-star recruit. He spent 2 years in the program. You know what? We can say he should have come back and been the man his junior year, or he should have done this. But look at what he's doing in the NBA. It's hard for me to argue with anything P.J. Dozier did. And so he leaves. And then through stupidity or whatever you want to call it, your point guard, the guy that you're hoping steps up, makes some boneheaded off the court decisions in Ra Felder, and you lose him as well. And they're not set up to handle the attrition of 5 guys the next year. Not many teams like South Carolina are. It's just South Carolina's not Duke or Kentucky where they're replacing those 5 guys. So the next year, it's an understandable decline back to 16-16, and it's not fun. It's not what you want, but at least it's understandable to an extent. It was the following year we thought that they would take the step back forward, right? And that's The following year, you bring in A.J. Lawson. And A.J. Lawson, in a normal recruiting class, because remember, A.J. Lawson enrolled early. He reclassified and enrolled early. In a normal recruiting class, A.J. Lawson would have been a top 35 prospect. He would have been a borderline 5-star prospect. He would have. We're just talking prospects and where they would have been ranked. That's where he would have ended up being. And he comes in, and it was that brutal start. It was the start that just wiped everybody out of basketball in November and December. I don't even remember who they lost to that year. Was that a Boston loss, I think, in there? And just some awful losses to start that season. They got just plowed by Michigan. They had that schedule that included a road trip to Michigan. They played Virginia at home. They got whipped by Clemson somewhere. They were awful to start the season. But then they got into SEC play, and they do this weird thing that we don't know how to necessarily consume. They go 11-7 in conference play. They do something that historically South Carolina doesn't do, and that's have a 500 record in conference play. And it gives us a little bit of hope. It gives you hope that they're going to build upon that, and they bounce back. And that brings us to last year. And you say, okay, they're going to build upon that. They're going to take what they did in conference play, an 11-7 record, and they're going to run with that. And last year, you get a team that, once again, 18-13 historically for South Carolina is good. That's what's good for South Carolina. But we looked at it as a disappointment, rightfully so, because they weren't going to make the NCAA tournament. And I think last year, more people are still upset, rightfully so. I'm not trying to argue with anybody on this. More people are still upset about the 2019-2020 season where you go 18-13 and you've got the incredibly bad loss to Stetson. You've got a few other bad losses, and that should have been an NCAA tournament team. And I think the bigger question that I'll ask you two guys is this. We know what happened with the NCAA tournament, but let's say in bracketology terms, on Joe Lunardi's bracketology, if South Carolina was going to be in the NCAA tournament, if they were going to be in it, would have people given a pass to this year? Because last year's the disappointment. Patrick's pointed that out several times, and you can't argue with 18-13 and what that team did, not getting to the NCAA tournament, some really bad losses. The one at the end of the year to Vanderbilt was horrendous on the road when it mattered. Would people view it a little bit different then? Because I think everything for Frank Martin is post NCAA tournament run.
What do you think, Patrick?
About if last year would have changed things, yeah. I think just the zero, the goose egg. I think the goose egg is the biggest thing. And it's too late now, it's the bottom line.
What do you mean the goose egg?
Last year, not getting back to the NCAA tournament, you're saying?
But
last year we didn't have the tournament.
But let's say that if they were going to be in it, I think it would be, No. Let's say that they win those games. They beat Stetson. They beat Vanderbilt. They don't blow it. Let's say they're going to get in it, and then they don't get to go play because the tournament is canceled. Because I'll be the one to where I'm kind of going with this. I probably would still be a little upset if they were going to get in the NCAA tournament last year. But the fact that I didn't get to watch it, I don't know how much credit I would have given for that. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Like sometimes we're all visual people. We need to watch them on opening weekend. We need to watch. I wonder how much credit they would have gotten for that last year, because last year is a disappointment. You can't. There's no other way to describe. And then that leads to this year, and this year is a failure. It is. It is. And now we sit here today trying to figure out the direction of South Carolina basketball.
I don't know. I don't know how that would have changed not being able to watch it. Because I know from like the Maryland perspective, they had their best team in a long time last year, and they didn't get to play in the tournament, and they thought they were going to be a Final Four team. And now everyone's like, yeah, get that coach out of here. Fire Turgeon.
Exactly.
It's like, well, they were a Final Four caliber team last year, but you didn't get to see it. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know how, if South Carolina was a tournament team, I still think it would have made a difference. It's just, it's such a obvious thing when you say you haven't made a single tournament. It's just glaring.
Oh. There have only been this is the third one since then because of last year's canceled deal. Yeah. It's hard to believe that, Bill, like you mentioned earlier, Virginia and Texas Tech, the last national championship we got, the first tournament coming up in a couple of years, going to tip off tomorrow with the first four, and then the first full day on Friday this year. We're going to have that all for you, the Westwood One coverage of NCAA basketball tournament from noon until, I think it's set to go until 1 a.m. on Friday, and then on Monday it'll be the second round of games going on Monday. So a bunch of basketball coming up for you right here on 107.5. Game won't affect us, but will affect the afternoon shows. No afternoon shows set now for Friday and Monday moving forward this week. We'll move forward with the dramatic conclusion of the show when we come back. 803-404-6100. If you'd like to get in a final word, it's the early game here on 107.5 The Game. I'm going to run upstairs real quick.
Beautiful Irish morning out there. Unfortunately, in South Carolina, that's not what we want. We like heat. We like it to be warm. We like to be able to go outside. And then we like to be able to come in and use our air conditioner. And that's going to happen. It's going to come. And you better make sure your heating and air unit, your air conditioner is working properly. I trust AAA heating and air with my air conditioning because I can believe in them. Family-oriented business does what it takes to make you happy. And right now, they're really doing it. You might want to give them a call today, 803-677-1500. If you're worried about your heating and air unit this coming summer, if you're worried about the air, right now, they'll pay you $1,500 to buy back your old unit. Plus, listen to this, give you 0% financing with no money down. I know some of you are getting those stimulus checks. Man, take care of your family. Take care of your heating and air unit. The great folks at AAA Heating and Air will make sure that it's working properly. So this summer, there's no glitches, there's no hiccups, and they're going to treat you like family. They treat me like family every time they come out. That's why I believe in them. AAA Heating and Air. Give them a phone call this morning, 803-677-1500. Find out for yourself how they'll treat you like family and why they'll take care of you. Again, they'll pay you right now $1,500 to buy back your old unit. That's right. So if there's a problem with it, if something's acting a little quirky, you're a little concerned about this coming summer, it's going to be hot, you need to go ahead and give them a call, 803-677-1500. They'll pay you $1,500 to buy back your old unit and then give you 0% financing with no money down. I'm telling you, it's a family-oriented company. That's why I believe in them. That's why I associate with them. You need to find out for yourself. AAA Heating and Air, 803-677-1500. Give them a phone call today and tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Clear.
All righty here.
There's some salty texters.
Yeah, people fired up.
And Bill, you were. Oh, go ahead. By the time I got done editing down your spot, we got you to just a smidgen under a minute exact.
Perfect. Let's look at you.
Yep.
That was a clean trim of 5 seconds. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
What is a limerick? Is there a specific
an Irish poem or rhyme?
No, it's like a poem, but is there a specific like format to it or like theme to it?
I don't know.
I don't know. I just know there's clean ones and there's dirty ones.
The English language is not my specialty to begin with. So if we start getting into that kind of stuff, if we get into that, that's where you take me down a path I can't win.
You just missed the breaking news, Tim.
What was that?
Bill said that he hasn't mastered the English language.
I said it's not my specialty.
It's not your specialty. Sorry.
Not my specialty.
Pretty much.
That's good stuff.
When Tim talks to the big bosses, he doesn't go, "Yeah, we need to keep Gunner because his ability to use the English language is what really stands him apart from other people."
And if he says it exactly that way, that will get the point across.
Oh, William Wordsmith Gunner.
You couldn't have done that any better.
They'll never confuse me for Walt Whitman.
No.
You and Walter White, you and Walt Whitman.
You like that WW?
WW.
That was a crazy twist there in that thing, wasn't it? And by the way, in that, I brought this up when I was watching it with Lauren, and that happened. Does anybody else just go into the master bedroom to use the bathroom like that at anybody else's house?
You shouldn't.
I mean,
when I moved into my house, they didn't even have another bathroom but the master bathroom on the first floor. We were like, what is going on here? We're getting a little half bathroom.
Yeah. That's one of the first things that we taught the kids from an early age. You don't go into, if you're going to a friend's house and playing, you don't go into the master bedroom. You certainly don't go in their bathroom, but like those are just, there's places that's the off limits when you're visiting somebody's house.
Huh.
That's the way I operate. I don't know.
So when I teach my kids just to go jump on the bed in people's houses we go to, you're saying that's not the way to go.
That's exactly what you're doing. Yeah, I see that.
My last house had one bathroom for 6 people, so it really wasn't enough.
That is college living right there.
What?
Usually we just use the yard if it was number 1.
I grew up, with all girls except for my dad, so, we had to have options. Still only one bathroom, but in a farmhouse. And cold.
Agreed, Mark. Agreed. That was good. Would you like to respond to Alex's text there on the text line, Dill?
If you want to bring it up, I can respond for a minute. I know we're limited on time.
Yeah, we have 1 more minute of spots.
They'll have about 2 minutes total, I'm guessing.
I'm such an awful person. I'm like pulling for more rain so soccer practice gets canceled.
You're probably not the only one.
You think some of the other parents?
You got to make it more fun for you then, man.
Maybe even some of the players.
Austin was tired. Austin, we watched I've been watching Bob's Burgers with him. I like Bob's Burgers. That's become my new mindless television. Like how Patrick watches, you watch movies and stuff. I just throw on Bob's Burgers now.
I don't watch mindless television.
I
always have an objective when I'm watching television.
By the time I sit down, I've been watching a lot of hockey. I've watched a lot of hockey. I've watched more hockey in the last month than I have in the last 3 years. I mean, I watch playoff hockey, but I've watched a lot of hockey lately.
The Caps are so good right now.
We'll hit the bump in about a minute. So we got about 2 left. All right, you guys are up.
Started with a little venom towards Mike Bobo, I would say, since his contract details have been released over at Auburn, making just $100,000 more there, but 1 more year on his contract than it was at South Carolina. Near the middle of this show, you got the live video stream gem of Jen Jensen's versus her computer today. And now towards the end of the show, Bill Gunter has basically given up on South Carolina basketball, saying it's been a difficult thing to win, and that's what you think it's always going to be. Alex says, somebody's got to challenge Bill on this. You may be the expert. There is more than one coach that would want this job. You have sources that say USC basketball is bad. Haters, they can be better. I disagree that they will always be bad. Your response, Bill? Anything? No.
I mean, I would love to. I don't know. There's somebody out there that can fix the job or get the job done. And I think Frank Martin's done a good job. I know people disagree with me, but if you look at the history of it, he's done a good job. Now, is he the right man to lead the program forward as they hit reset again? Well, that's a whole nother conversation. And as fans, you better want a as fans, you should want a better program. There's
45.
nothing wrong with what Alex is saying. It's a tough battle, man. It's a tough battle. Got to find the right guy for it. Got to find the right set of assistant coaches that can help do it. Got to find the right players. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a reason why it's been this way for 45 years. It's not just the coach. There's a lot of circumstances that go around South Carolina basketball.
Good players and good coaches. That's all you need.
That's really all you need. Good boosters.
Nothing to it. Patrick got the solution. He's already started his St. Patrick's Day
15.
celebration a little early. Good for you, Patrick.
Late, technically.
Jen, breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth.
Absolutely.
Is
Zen.
namaste is Irish, right? Namaste, Jen.
Clear. No, it's namaste home.
All right, Patrick, get after it.
Uh-oh.
Bedtime.
Attaboy.
Washington football team just signed Lamar Miller.
Oh.
Wow, congratulations.
It's time to celebrate.
All right, you guys need anything else? We'll say goodbye on the live stream here. Happy St. Patty's Day to all.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
And a cheers from Patrick.
Cheers from Patrick.